right, let's move this forward here. All right, I'd like to open up. Are you ready, Austin? Okay. I'd like to open up the August 25th, 2022 work session. First up, we have determined the quorum with 2 remotely participating. So I need a motion to consider allowing council members to participate remotely.
So moved.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Next up is adoption of the agenda. Do we have any changes? Kim? Wayne?
Do I have any? I don't think so.
I do not have any.
Council members? No.
Nope.
Okay. I'll need a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So move.
All's in favor?
Aye.
First up, we have presentations from, give me a second here. JHM Creative Company on best practices for social media engagement. So you want to come up to the front there, introduce yourself, and thank you for being here.
Use the mic.
I mean, it's fine. I don't know.
That's what, yeah. Or do you want to sit down and take a microphone? Yeah, sit right here.
Sure,
That'd be
that's fine.
great.
Yeah.
This way, anyone listening in Zoom land will hear you.
It feels so official. There you go. All right.
Want a name tag?
I know. Yes. Okay. So, do I need to pull it forward? Can everyone hear me okay? Everyone's good? Everyone online? Okay, so my name is Jessica Milichevich. I own JHM Creative Company, and I was hired to run the social media and the newsletter for the Village of Marvin. And so I just wanted to stop by today and just talk about sort of just basics of social media 101, what we believe that social media is meant for within a community and a government, and just talk about the kinds of posts that we've been doing for you guys and why we've been doing them and why they think they matter for you guys and for your audience and your community. So I have a presentation, but I'll just read off of it if that's okay,
Sure.
just to save time and technicality. So let's see here. All right, so really, we believe that the role of social media within a community and a government is really has three roles: to inform, to educate, and to entertain. And so, to inform, obviously, that means things like announcements, events that you guys have going on, meetings, any kind of emergency that you guys wanted to get out, right away. Informing your community, keeping them up to date on what you guys are doing. To educate them, on things like town laws and regulations. For instance, the no left turn onto Marvin Road. We've been making sure to really hit that home. Just making sure to keep your community really educated, and to entertain. So that's things like photos of events, third-party articles, quotes, and I'll go into those as well, exactly what those are. But we want it to be fun, right? We don't just want it to be serious and, make sure you're following the rules and here's what we're doing. We want it to be fun and exciting and keep them engaged. So the purpose of social media and really what can it do, for your community in particular, we want the audience and we want your community to feel connected, first of all, right? And so we're in this digital age right now where people are seeing each other face to face less and less. Even without a pandemic, people just are texting instead of calling, or they're sending emails, or they're on social media, right? And so it can be hard to keep a community feeling connected, but social media can really help with that. And we also want them to feel engaged. So we want them to feel like what you guys are doing is something that they want to be a part of, and we want them to engage with each other. And social media is a great way to do that. And we want them to feel invested in the community. We want them to feel like they're proud to be a member of the Village of Marvin. They want to see it prosper. They want to see it do well. And so through social media and that connection and that engagement, we can help them to feel invested in their community and want to do things like volunteer and be a part of our events and really be a part of what you guys are doing. So I just wanted to roll off a couple of social media stats. I wish you guys could see my presentation because it looks so good. But just some stats here. So 71% of adults use at least one social media platform per day in suburban communities like you guys. 71% is a huge number. And we're talking about adults ages from 18 to 65, right? So it's not just, you know, the millennials that are on social media. It's really everybody from the high school kid all the way up to his grandmother. I mean, everybody's on social media right now. 47% of those adults use social media to stay in touch. And so again, it's that way that people are communicating these days, right? Is just in that digital form. 69% of adults are using Facebook on a daily basis, and 40% of them are using Instagram on a daily basis. So those are the two biggest platforms where we're seeing people talk and engage. I did pull a Nextdoor because I know you guys are there as well. It's 13%, which is low, but it's also a niche platform. So Nextdoor is, you know, much different than Facebook and Instagram, which is why fewer people use it. So just to talk about the types of posts that we're putting up for you guys, I don't know if you guys have seen what we've been doing. We just started your Instagram account, so it's been doing well. We've really been trying to keep all of the accounts. We've got Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Nextdoor really consistent across the board because we really believe that the types of posts that we're putting up are going to matter to your community and to really increase that connection, engagement, and investment. So the first kind of posts that we've been doing are announcements, right? So we talked about keeping everybody informed. So, you know, these really let the community know what's happening in the town that you live in. These announcement type posts really help to tie the community together. We want them to feel informed. We want them to feel like they know what, you know, is going on, that there's a clear line of communication between the government and its community, right? And that's really important to have those lines of communication open, and social media is a great way to do that. You know, and it informs and it educates the community. We're reminding them of things like laws and regulations that they need to follow. Obviously, we're posting about events. So like we've got the ribbon ceremony coming up, which is exciting. You know, any kind of event that you guys have, coffee with council, these meetings, we're making sure that people are aware that these are happening. And so that way, you know, the more that they're seeing, okay, this is happening every single month. Okay, it's a reoccurring thing. It keeps, you know, coming up in my Facebook feed or my Instagram feed. Maybe I should attend this. And so by posting about it every single month, we're sort of planting that seed of recognition in their mind. And that way, you know, maybe one morning they'll wake up and be like, oh yeah, okay, today's coffee with council. I think I'll stop by. And so keeping them informed of events, not just the one-offs, but the ones that are happening every month are really important to help them feel connected. And it also helps to keep them, you know, that sort of entertainment portion that we talked about. Events are fun, you know, they're interesting. It's not like don't turn left on Marvin Road, which they need to know because they shouldn't do it. But it also just keeps it light. It keeps it interesting. It keeps it personal, right? And that's what a small town is all about. We want them to feel like, you know, that sense of small town investment, sort of those like sentimentality emotions that you get when you think of a small town. And events really do help with that. So we've been posting things like quotes, and it can seem kind of trite or arbitrary, but they're actually highly shareable and they're incredible for engagement. So what we've been doing is we've been posting quotes that are funny or that are moving or engaging that one of your community members might see, and we really want it to spark an emotion, right? So whether they do feel moved by it or whether it's something that makes them laugh, a quote that we share in a graphic format really does help to increase engagement. They want to share it. They want to react to it. And it does, like I said, it increases sort of that emotional response that we want to get from social media, right? Again, it just really helps with that connection. You know, it keeps them entertained and it keeps them coming back so they're not continuously just scrolling past what they're seeing from us on social media. So third-party articles are actually really interesting. Obviously we're going to be posting about, events and announcements and coffee with counsel and things that are happening on the regular. But third-party articles, it's a really interesting way to keep your audience engaged. There are a ton of lifestyle magazines out there, right? There's a ton of digital magazines out there, anything from, like Real Simple to Southern Living. And they have all kinds of really great articles that are, non-confrontational, non-political, nothing that's going to get people riled up. But things, like, the best books to read this summer, or, decorating your own holiday cookies, or, just articles about small town life. Articles like that get people to stop scrolling. And ultimately, that's what we want them to do. We want them to stop scrolling and pay attention to what we're doing on social media, right? And so again, it just helps with that connection. So third-party articles, when we share those, it's great for our engagement rates, which means that the more engagement that we have, the higher those rates are, the more our content is going to organically show up in front of our audience. So we want those rates to go up. And so things like quotes, things like these third-party articles really do help with that engagement rate and getting our content organically in front of our audience. We would never share an article, like I said, that's politically related, that's going to be divisive in any way. They're really just feel-good articles that we'll be sharing. So I just wanted to share with you real quickly, sort of just a snapshot of your own social media, just so you guys are aware of how things are going for you guys. So we just started your Instagram account when I came on in July. Yeah. Okay. Summer ran together with 4 kids. It's all a blur. So far we have 128 followers, which is great considering 129. There you go. Considering that we just started the account and we haven't put any money behind it, right? It's just organic growth, which is awesome. You've got almost 800 followers on Facebook. We've got more than 4,000 on Nextdoor. And our subscriber list for your newsletter is 1,135, which is great. So those numbers are really good. So kind of just looking, okay, so we have these followers, but what are they doing? How are they engaging? So our highest engagement rate is definitely on Facebook. That's where you guys do the best. So we've got a 77% engagement rate there, which is awesome. That means that, a lot of your audience, that's where they're getting their information. That's where they're seeing our social media posts. They're commenting, they're liking, they're sharing it. So those engagement rates are really high, which is awesome. A little bit lower on Instagram, 31%, but that's because we just started the account. So it's going to continue to grow. And so with MailChimp, with our with our newsletter, you guys have a 66% open rate for your newsletters, which is awesome. Considering newsletters generally get about 15%, you guys are killing it in the newsletter department. It's really great. People want to hear from you guys. So on Nextdoor, it's a little bit different. Even though you guys have about 4,000 members in the community, the average impressions, which means how many times somebody sees your content, is 253, but we're not getting a lot of engagement there. We have a big community, but not a lot of people are commenting, not a lot of people are sharing. And I think it's the platform, honestly. I just don't think that that's necessarily the platform where people are going to engage highly. And so I'm not concerned about it. We just keep posting that content. If they see it there, that's great, but it's also going to be across all of our other platforms and shared in our newsletters. So they are bound to get the information some way or shape. So does anyone have questions or anything that they want to talk about in terms of social media, what we're doing for you guys, strategy, anything like that?
I'm
So
sorry.
Jessica, when you say that we're not getting a lot of, I guess, action on Nextdoor, you're talking about the Village's Nextdoor site, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay, yeah, because we have to continuously post stuff on Nextdoor because that
Oh,
is
yeah.
the way that our community talks to each other about the Village, because they just don't do it through our account. They do it through their own. And
Yeah,
the amount
yeah.
of misinformation out there is staggering. So we have to, whatever we're doing, like, it may have to be more on Nextdoor because they're not having conversations about the Village of Marvin on Instagram or Facebook. It is on Nextdoor.
Oh,
So-
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we will definitely continue to post there for sure. They're just not engaging necessarily on our posts. And so even though they're talking to each other, they're not having those conversations on our posts, but at least they're seeing the information there, right? Because the impressions are high. It's just that there's having those conversations between each other and not necessarily on our particular post. Anyone else?
Say it looks great. It's popping up on my social
Good,
media,
great.
like Instagram every day. It's popping up. I'm seeing it.
Good.
Some people have asked me who
Yeah.
what the change is. It looks really good.
Good. That's
You should
really
share
great.
your presentation because that's really pretty.
Thank you.
I was gonna ask if you could forward the presentation so we could look at that. and-
Absolutely, yeah. If, Austin, do you want me just to send it directly to you or?
Yeah, you can email it to me. I'll send it out to them and
Yep.
it'll also be in the minutes for this meeting. So.
Perfect, great. Well, Austin has my contact information if you guys have any questions or you want to talk to me individually, but
I do have just a couple more.
of course.
How do you think our best way to appeal to the younger generation? I know they're all on social media,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
they're not, how do we get them to engage
Yeah.
more? Because that's
Yeah.
one of the things I either get questions on, how do I get involved in community and stuff like that.
Yeah,
for the kids.
absolutely, absolutely. Really, the best way, I mean, is definitely through social media, but they need to know we're there first. And so, having a specific of maybe a specific event for parents and teens, and letting them know that we're out there on social media, making sure that we're encouraging parents to share it with their teenagers, and are you talking about specifically like young people, like under 18? Are you talking about like 18 to 24? Kind of what age range are you
I
talking
mean,
about?
everything from,
Okay.
let's call junior high to high school,
Sure.
because they start to get, either involved in the community one
Yeah.
way or another, or
Yeah.
they have some sort of requirement for school to do so, community volunteering, that type of stuff.
Yeah,
which
absolutely.
we always tend to have something for them, whether it's at the park or what else, but it's sometimes, even when we have an event,
Mhm.
it's hard rallying the troops for volunteers, quite frankly. It's like,
Interesting, okay, yeah.
and we'd really like to, I think, and I'm speaking of one, but
Yeah.
I think we would really like to get more volunteers when we have
Mhm.
Christmas events, whatever it is.
Yeah,
that we have,
absolutely.
I'd like to see more of the younger generation involved
Sure,
in
absolutely.
that, so.
So yeah, we really do they need to know that we're there. And so if we're talking about reaching sort of that younger demographic, and especially the ones that are in high school, encouraging the parents to share with them as well. If we are wanting volunteers specifically from young people, then that's really where we should start, or the parents. And, also the schools would be a great place to start, so I don't know if there's a way that we can do some kind of presentation with the schools, something that we can do to get them involved. But they need to know that we're there, right? They can't see our content if they have no idea that we're even on Instagram, which is most likely where they're living, is on Instagram.
And what do you recommend for those that are not on social media? Because I'm not on any social media. I'm
Sure.
not on Facebook. I have none of that personally. So I'm one of the 30%.
Yeah.
I'll call myself different, but I think it's creating so many issues with
Mhm.
our way of life right now that I just refuse. If it's like, you don't want to call me or text me, I can, then
Yeah, right, yeah. So do you get our newsletter?
yes.
Okay, so everything that's in our social media is in the newsletter.
Okay.
Everything,
So
yep.
just encourage them to be on the newsletter.
Mhm.
And then another question is, we get a lot, even though there's not,
Oh,
that's not,
One call. They could-
that's,
is there a bunker?
Yes.
That was an intense.
I had to shut off. I had it shut off. Apparently
That
that
was
doesn't work.
intense.
It's not. Uh, You said we have a lot of engagement.
Mhm.
What would you recommend, but we get a lot of misinformation by people that just state things on Nextdoor, let's say.
Mhm.
From a council perspective,
Mhm.
I've asked, you know, our council to say, stay away from responding on Nextdoor because you're going to go down a rabbit hole that's just not worth going down.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's the venue for it.
Mhm.
Is there a way that we can, you know, or you would recommend or advice for council or for us to how we respond to that?
Are you sure there's not a bunker that we need to get into?
Yeah, no, I'm looking at all these lights going on.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. So I agree. Misinformation, engaging with somebody who is spreading misinformation is not going to change their mind. It's only going to increase that negative conversation. And you are going to get in a rabbit hole, right? Can I ask a question? What type of misinformation and how often are you seeing it on Nextdoor?
I would say pretty consistently, and Kim can probably answer that better.
So it's pretty much all the time, and it gets a lot heavier when we're making certain decisions about different things within the community. But a lot of it is we're greasing our palms, we're getting kickbacks from developers, we're making millions of dollars, we have development companies. What else? I mean, there's so many things. We're going to put a strip mall in. We're going to have an additional, I think, 72 homes within the Heritage District after we just approved the 68 homes. All these plans are happening that we're not sharing with the community. I mean, none of that is true.
Okay. So it definitely feels like for me, listening to what they're saying, they feel like there's a communication and a transparency issue. Have you guys ever considered addressing these issues in some sort of meeting, like a special Nextdoor meeting?
We do it all the time in meetings, but as you can see, there's no one there, and there's no one on the TV except for myself and another council member. This is the problem.
So has anyone ever engaged with this misinformation on Nextdoor before?
I mean,
Yes.
I have. My husband does it all the time, and they just, I mean, they basically call him an idiot and tell him to shut up because his opinion doesn't matter. And he's like, it's not about being an opinion or not. It is about facts versus, you know, you guys making stuff up. So it's not, they don't listen. And it's a loud it's like a loud group of like the minority, right? That doesn't believe in it, where you've got the majority who agree with it. But we have open meetings. We have coffee with council, which no other council has ever done. So we give you 2 other opportunities a month to come in and speak with us. And we have all said on multiple occasions, including our last meeting where I said, call us. We'll sit down and have a meeting with you. But they don't because they want to hide behind their keyboards.
If nothing else, I think I would just like to see a standard, and maybe Christina, we can work with counsel or attorney on anything that's misinformation, misleading, misguiding, anything like that. The standard immediate response from the town hall saying, you know, I'd like to direct you to wherever, whatever that verbiage is, that it's a standard response. Because if it comes from a council member, then we go down the rabbit hole, and it's just not the venue. But if it comes from, I can't control what a spouse says, but you know, and I encourage you to have your spouse.
Joe, but we did that. I had Christina as soon as the stuff started showing up that we were greasing our pockets and we were doing all these extra houses. I called Christina and I said, Christina, we've got to get ahead of this. And and the village put out a beautiful response to what was going on that probably nobody read.
Right. Well, either way, it's a definite issue. And typically it's just from a few. But, you know, I mean, and that's fine. It's the same few. And it's just, I think it makes them look silly when we prove them wrong if they just were to call Christina or our clerk or, you know, the planner to get the real, or maybe even go back and listen to a meeting and see what actually happens.
Can I ask what kind of results are you guys seeing from this kind of communication on Nextdoor? I mean, what do you think that, you know, the consequences are of these vocal few speaking out?
Well, I will say this, it's, it, just by saying it, people that know me, that know that how I operate and how things, they'll call me and just, hey, I heard that this is going on and stuff, and I'm scratching my head going, so first thing I ask them, where'd you get the information from? And it's all over Nextdoor and stuff. And that, it's just, again, it's like, okay, well, let's start there and the source, and then let's go back and look at what we've done in meetings and stuff like that. So that's where you're never going to get, everyone to agree with that, but it starts with a rumor or just a comment like that.
Yeah,
That you
right.
really have, it's freedom of speech. I get it, but
Yeah.
it's just dead wrong what they're saying, and can be hurtful and those sort of things. But again, I stay away from it. I end up hearing from Nextdoor from all my staff and
Yeah,
Kim or
okay.
anyone else. I do not look at it. So if you're commenting about me, you're not getting to me at all, because unless you were to sit in front and directly bring up the issue in a public setting, instead of hiding behind your notepad here, it's not effective for me. That's just the opinion of one. But
If you don't mind, I can take some time and really think about a strategy. And just sort
that's
of-
that's
I'd
totally
like to
fine.
just
It's
go
just
back and take a look and see what they're saying and take what you guys have said into consideration and just kind of think about it a little bit, see if I can come up with a couple different scenarios of what we could do.
yeah. I just think, and I'm speaking again for one, but in talking to other council members, this is probably the biggest concern when it comes to social media.
Yeah.
About the misinformation that
Yeah.
constantly gets spewed out there into the community that you have no control over. But, it almost goes back to Nextdoor. It's like, is that what really Nextdoor is for? To
Right.
talk about the village issues, or should there be another site such as Facebook or whatever that,
Right.
you're free to do that? And then the only other thing I would suggest from a council standpoint is entertaining official thoughts from council members on whether it's a monthly basis, or whatever, if it comes in, responding officially through social media from a council member or members. But I know a lot of times that we're all speaking for one unless we're in a meeting
Mhm.
and we're deciding and voting on something, but it's just the opinion of one of 5 council members at this point, or 6.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
that's where, again, it's just a thought. I don't know how we would
Yeah.
create that on a site or something like that, but it's something they can go to get,
Sure.
thoughts and opinions of it.
I think we have to be more proactive about putting information out before other people get the opportunity to. And we've done a okay job with it so far, but we should be doing more of that. When we know we've got a public hearing coming up, or we know we've got a new development that has come to us, like, we need to be putting out more information than not, because otherwise, if in the void of information, the people are going to look to the only information that's being put out there, whether it's accurate or not. And that's been a challenge, because one, we don't know what they're going to say. We don't know what they're going to make up at one given time. But just being able to go out and say, we've got this development, they're coming in, and just walking through the process. I think it's got to be something more proactive that we're sending out.
So I think what I can do is hop on Nextdoor and just kind of take a look at what's being said and then categorize it, and then kind of come up with a communication strategy that might be best suited for each type of
Well,
topic.
you may have a difficult time finding stuff, because a lot of those posts have been removed by reviewers
Right.
who are
Gotcha.
on the minority side of things, and he's a reviewer, so he gets to take stuff down when he wants to, and so you may have a hard time.
Gotcha.
If you need information, my husband has pretty much all of the screenshots of the conversations that have been going on.
Yeah. Okay. You're just talking about being proactive and getting ahead of it. So I just need to know kind of what information I'm getting ahead of. So,
Usually it's on development, I would say, and what's going on, what's coming and stuff. And the good news is we're almost built out. But there is a lot of stuff that could be happening here in the future, especially with the Heritage District and stuff like that, because homes are the homes. They're not going anywhere. We're not building any more homes on top of the homes that are already here, but there is a Heritage District and there's a certain percentage of open land left
okay.
that is,
Yeah.
scheduled for more homes or.
Yeah.
And that's, I would say, the biggest thing that comes up.
Okay.
on it.
Yeah, so if you do see, if you anticipate that kind of information, and you are worried about this misinformation, just keeping me informed is the best way, for me to kind of get ahead of it and then sort of create a strategy around it. Austin, we talked a lot, and so if there's anything that you're concerned about, anything that is coming up that you're like, this may get those next door people riled up, let Austin know, he can let me know. And that way we can kind of figure out the best way to get ahead of it, So just keeping me in the loop, I think, is going to be the best way. And then me just being able to kind of strategize and helping you guys figure that out.
Any other questions from council?
I would recommend that instead of going down the rabbit hole, is just kind of covering up the rabbit hole. And ways of doing that is to have a ready response to anything that says, instead of making an accusation, which is considered misinformation, that all comments or inquiries into what you stated should be addressed at, call your town manager and have it addressed. Also understand that you are more than welcome to come to XYZ meeting to address these issues.
But that's what I
However,
was talking about, the standard
I
response.
understand, but we should have that response, because if someone says we're taking money from Jones Homes, the next response that goes out, because everyone's looking for, all right, no, we're not. Well, then it turns into, and instead of doing that, we send out, it's a canned response.
Mhm.
This is considered to be provocative and misinformation. If you have a,
Evidence.
if you have evidence or whatever, but it's basically saying, if this is something that you believe is happening, please address it with the town manager and have them, because at that point in time, what we can do is we're now not going down a rabbit hole. The second thing is we can get ahead of it by, instead of one person or 3 or 4 people doing the thing, we can send out a message through our social media that says, this topic has been brought up. And the misinformation or the accusation was X, but the truth of the matter is Y, and then that shuts it down. So you've covered up the rabbit hole by saying, if someone accuses something, all we have to do is, we see this as misinformation or a provocative statement.
Right.
Please address this with the town manager so that we can provide the correct information moving forward. So forth. So it's a blank statement.
Right.
Then all Christina has to do, and once they see that, they're like, oh shit, now they're calling me out. Now I
Well-
can't just make an accusation.
But-
Then Christina goes, accusation, recent accusation, or recent topic. She don't have to be provocative. Recent topic. Council members have been accused of taking monies from things. Then she can go into, they sign ethics papers with the state. They do this, they do that. And if at any point in time you would like to have someone audited at your cost, please do so. And then that shuts that topic down.
But actually,
But
I
it-
think provoke
but
them
it-
even more.
Yeah.
No, but
Yeah.
it doesn't because Christina did that basically. And the problem is the village cannot go in and respond to individual posts. So it has to be a brand new post that people don't associate with the misinformation post. That's the problem.
I'm just trying to cover up the rabbit hole instead of going into the rabbit hole.
but we can't because it will be a completely separate Village of Marvin post with all this great information, which Christina did like 2 weeks ago, and it was
So we
amazing.
can't- we
But
can't
people
comment?
don't. No, the village cannot comment. Austin, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what you've always told me.
So yeah, the way Nextdoor works is we have a public agency profile, and I'm assuming it's a privacy measure on the part of Nextdoor. We can't see other people's posts, but they can see us. So the only way I normally find out about a piece of misinformation or something that the community's talking about is I hear from an outside source. People are usually very good about letting me know if something's out there floating in the ether, but I'm usually not able to see it coming or see it like as soon as it goes up.
And there really is, unfortunately, no covering up the rabbit hole on a social media platform.
So does it make sense to like put someone like Chaplin, our attorney, on Nextdoor? And if something comes up, we notify him and Chaplin makes a response as an individual, as a representative of the Village of Marvin, a legal representative. Put out what you want to say, what he wants to say from a legal perspective. And if you have recommendations, please address those, too, because all of this stuff, a lot of it is illegal stuff that they're accusing us of doing. Some of it is.
I mean,
which
having
gets-
it come from an attorney would definitely carry some weight,
But if he's on Nextdoor as a citizen, he
right?
just, okay, I can, because everybody that gets on, sometimes they represent themselves. Oh, I have, this business and stuff, and this is happening. And again, there are people that control what messages go out and some get removed. But it's just a thought. I mean, I was thinking we go down thoughts from council members that we could put out there, but again, let's take us out of the equation there and just have technically our legal,
My God, our legal bill will be through the roof.
I'm
What's
not
that?
sure
That's
the
what
staff
our-
are getting
our-
paid enough for that.
Our legal bill will
How
be
much
through
it
the
would
roof.
cost,
So
have them do that, yeah.
might I suggest that Jesse, you said you were gonna go back and do some research to go through. We've given her the most recent packet. I screenshot everything and printed everything out for her from one of the most recent posts that we had.
It's really thick and big.
So if you can go back and just
I mean, it's
analyze
insane.
that, to point out a couple of things,
Yeah.
yes, we have done the standard response. We can continue to do that if that's what council desires. However, it will require someone, like Austin said, from the outside to let us know when that's going on. We can't respond back on individual posts, so it's really just gonna be a matter of the canned response be pushed out by one of you all, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Or Chaplain in that matter. So we can assess that at the time where Jesse comes back with her reported findings. I think another approach for us would also be for us as a group, meaning who's sitting here today, to be more proactive in looking at agenda documents and saying, oh, that's one that may be controversial. Let's make sure that gets added to our communication list
Yeah,
as a,
yep.
as a proactive response. So we can do a better job from a staff level, and we just ask council to look at that and see what things may be controversial when we're looking at agendas, and let's make that a topic of conversation for a future FAQ.
Right. The tricky thing really comes, so you understand, is if there's an official response from the town, that has to come from a meeting of all of us sort of voting on it, which
Yeah, sure.
creates a meeting, which just it extends how long you have to respond. But those are some of the challenges, but I agree. If you can come back with some recommendations, that would be great.
Absolutely.
So Austin can get with you on our next regular work session, which is roughly a month from today.
Okay.
So that'll give you some time to go back and look at some things, and we can rehash this
Yeah,
as a group, if that's okay with you all.
sounds
Yeah.
great.
All right. Well, thank you for your visit and
Yes.
your presentation, and we'll look forward to having you send that to us if you could.
I will, absolutely. I will send the presentation and I will take a look at what I've got here and just sort of see if I can come up with a strategy. So, thank you.
Thank
Austin.
you. Thank you. Sounds great. Thank you. All right, moving on. Next up, we have Village Hall. Do we have anything, Christina?
I don't have anything.
Nothing? Okay.
The ribbon cutting.
I'm
Ribbon
sorry.
cutting is next Thursday.
A ribbon cutting next Thursday. Go ahead, Kim.
What about our audio stuff, Christina? Like the panels?
They came in yesterday. I actually emailed him back this morning. He's waiting on a quote from a sub. So still waiting.
The same
do have-
guy?
Same guy that we've been dealing with for about a month now. I have ordered a sample if we decide to do it ourselves, so that you guys can look at it and see if it's something that you find reasonable.
Yeah.
Um,
All
And I told the individual that came out Thursday or yesterday or whatever, Tuesday it might have been, that he was trying to measure the height. And I said, we're okay with starting with one panel and then continuously going up until it gets addressed. So he's going to look at it from a couple of different ways, but we're still waiting on his quote.
Okay, we haven't gotten the sample in yet?
I do have a sample
Oh,
from
okay.
another vendor, from a do-it-yourself vendor.
Has anybody seen
And-
that?
Take a look at that after the meeting and talk about it.
Yeah, I'll show him after the meeting.
And you're comfortable with next week's open house,
We are.
grand opening? Everything's in order? Okay, nothing pressing that needs to be, no ditches to be filled? Just kidding.
Be working
We're
on
ready
that
to
this
go.
week.
All right, thank you.
Thank-
Next up, we have items of discussion. First up, we have discussion of CRTPO funding. We had I think, a conversation, Hunter and I, with the county, and we would like to, and I guess in that discussion, we talked about, how we go forward and what we present. So I think that's why we have our presenter here, if I'm not mistaken, but I'll let you take it over. So.
Yeah, so I've got Bjorn here from Union County. As the mayor mentioned, this started about a month and a half ago on a staff level. Bjorn reached out to me and trying to ask if the village would be interested in putting in a joint application with us, the county, and at that time Waxhaw for the roundabout at Bonds Grove and Waxhaw Marvin. We started that conversation at a staff level. Waxhaw didn't really seem too interested, as they have some other projects they were looking to submit applications through the CRTPO process. But I told Bjorn that I think the village would still be willing to consider submitting a joint application. Therefore, then the mayor, myself, Bjorn, and the county representative had a meeting last week. Discuss this further, and so now we're in that process where the application submittals are due. Is it 1st of October or end of October? And basically, we want to present to the council to see if you guys are interested in submitting this joint application, because obviously there would be some funding associated with it, if it gets approved long term. So I'll turn it over to Bjorn, and we'll kind of go over the project scope and a little bit of the background, and we can kind of get into some of the discussion.
And we'll just have you sit there if that's okay.
Yeah, I'll get there.
Just from a speaker stand, or is it all right? That's what I'm saying. So can he sit right here?
Huh.
Until we get
You wanna-
these
you wanna come?
technology issues, we'll just have you sit at get him a name tag, will you? We've seen a lot of them.
Should be Chrome.
I know, but I switched it, so it's gonna be on the screen too. Should be.
Wayne and Kim and whoever's out there, we're just trying to get a little technology issues so we can share a screen with you.
See, that's what I was worried about. It's because I've got it 2 different windows. Kim, can you guys see this? What are you looking at?
I can see you, and I can see the Bonds Grove, Church Road, a Waxhaw Marvin Road with the green and yellow in Union County. But it's
So
not
can
very,
I.
but it's not very big.
Yeah, it's not big for us either, so.
I'll just take the mouse and look. It should be all right. Oh, really? Okay. All right. Just leave it here then. So, thank you, Mayor, members of the council, manager, for letting me present on a potential application that between the county, the village, possibly Waxhaw as well, could apply this fall for funding through CARTFO. This intersection, Waxhaw, Marvin, and Bonds Grove Church, was identified as one of our 15 critical intersections in 2019, and we designed it actually in 2021, so just last year. And this intersection went through a evaluation with public feedback. We had a couple options on what to do there. There was a teeing up the intersection and signalizing it with turn lanes. And there was a roundabout. What was selected by the village, by the county, NCDOT, was the roundabout project. Not to say that the intersection project with the signal and turn lanes wasn't effective, but it wasn't as effective as the roundabout. So this design was what was selected and what we would refer to for applications for funding and implementation. CARPO has a little more than $50 million that's available for the application process this fall. That's for both new projects and shortfall projects. The village is obviously familiar with shortfalls due to your experience with Newtown and Marvin Road. But because the NC-16 widening was recently reactivated after a hiatus of at least a couple of years, we recognize that if we don't get this intersection improved, I fear that when the 16 construction does happen later this decade, you're going to get a lot of diverted traffic onto Waxhaw Marvin. And the saving grace of this intersection is that Bonds Grove Church to the east doesn't have much traffic, but Waxhaw and the NCDOT recently were able to fund a turn lane and signal project at that intersection that'll happen in the next few years. So you're going to get much more attractive corridor that will make it more difficult to make your left-hand turns from Waxhaw Marvin going north, and then adding in the diverted traffic, it's going to be a real mess. So if we could get this funded this year, there's the opportunity to have it complete before the construction occurs on the 16 corridor. And that's why we're
When you say
exploring
that,
the options.
What time frame are you looking at? If we get it funded this year, when do you think they would complete the project?
Oh, probably. I mean, well, there's two ways you could look at it. Based on the money being available, probably not until 27, which is approximately when 16 will be going to construction. But that assumes that the stars align. However, there's been multiple examples of the DOT essentially cash flowing a project if there's an opportunity to address an issue, so that they would pay for it sooner and then get paid back from the grant money when it becomes available 2-3 years down the road. And speaking with DOT staff in the area who deal with administering roundabout projects, they think that's potential. So I think that the answer is, if we apply and actually catch the proverbial car, then we can advocate to get that project accelerated. So the goal is it's complete before the 16 widening happens.
So Bjorn, just to be clear, this is pre-construction because your educated guess, which is a good, or basically what you're saying to us is when they start construction on the widening, is that road going to be completely shut down, or people are just going to look for alternate ways to get?
No, it's not going to be shut down. There's no viable.
Okay, that's
Way
so basically
that.
people are going to get frustrated because of the construction. They're going to take that route and go that way, which is interesting because you got school that already backs up. High school, if you guys aren't familiar, it backs up all the way around to Bonds Grove Road already. Just for council's perspective of what's happening right now, especially when we're in school time, and that's 7:30, I think, right around that time when people are getting there. 7:30 to 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock is, but it's doing I know it's not, it's more feasible to do the red light, but would the red light be the bandage for now that they can come back later and put the roundabout in when we have funding? Or is it just something that if you're going to do roundabout, let's go forward with roundabout? What's your recommendation on that?
Well, something I didn't mention earlier is that the county has requested of the DOT to do a signal study at this location to look at whether putting a signal in with no physical improvements to the road. The minute you change a square inch of asphalt there, it becomes a much more complicated project. So just signalizing it would be a the Band-Aid that we're talking about. And you're talking about, like a couple $100,000 project. And that was a request that was made by the county a few weeks ago. And hopefully we'll find out the results later this year. Potentially even an all-way stop. Just something as an interim improvement for the few years until potentially we could get this upgraded to a roundabout to do the alternate signalization with the teeing up the intersection. That's a real project as well. So you really need to choose one or the other. There's no retrofitting.
Well, from my experience traversing that intersection regularly, I would think that an interim signalization of that intersection would probably be the way to do it. And the reason why I say this is because the majority of the traffic that does flow the Waxhaw Marvin corridor versus the Bonds Grove, it could keep the traffic flowing there without causing too much of a backup in the interim. But it's such a dangerous intersection now. It's something that needs to be addressed immediately. I understand that, it takes a lot of time to get a traffic circle in. And that was why I asked that question of, how far out, but it is, I mean, it needs something immediately, if not sooner, you know what I mean? It's a very, very dangerous intersection to make that left heading north. It's just terrible. So, yeah, I mean, if that's a viable option that the county's looking at, that would be something that I would be certainly behind.
The other thing to note is, as we were talking in this meeting with Hunter and the county, and myself, is that we have really, if you look at logistically on a map, that's most of the feed from that is coming from Waxhaw. And we've approached Waxhaw and they are not necessarily interested at all in helping out. Is that correct?
I wouldn't say at all. They just have other projects that they're working on, and they said they didn't have match to put onto this project. And that was at the staff level, and the results of the meeting last week with Commissioner David Williams and the mayor as CARTPO to CARTPO representatives, and then DOT and local staff. We said we've worked through this at the staff level and gotten to the end of what we could. But if you want to have a peer-to-peer discussion with Mayor Pappas from Waxhaw to see if there's interest in reconsidering that, that's up to you.
Would you agree the majority of the traffic is coming from Waxhaw though? In that area? I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot, just.
Anecdotally, yes, but on a Saturday night, no, because everyone from Marvin's going to downtown Waxhaw, it seems. But
We hope
yeah,
they're staying in the county,
So if Waxhaw is not going to contribute, that local match of 1 million would be between us and the county?
that's correct.
Okay.
And so the recognition is it's a combination of unincorporated county, it's a combination of Marvin, it's a combination of Waxhaw. That's and honestly South Carolina, but you're not going to get South Carolina money on the North Carolina project. So between the three of us, the hope was that many hands lighten the load and we could come up with a partnership. It's now a political discussion.
right.
Do you think the actual numbers are, since that's based off of fiscal year 2020 dollars, what do you think we're looking at now?
Honestly, with the way things are, I would add 10% at least off of that estimate. And that's just to get you to 2022. If you're talking about 2026 year of expenditure, you tell me, is inflation still going to go 8% per year? So I honestly don't know. It's a very complicated era for building things.
And one thing that was discussed between, in our meeting last week was that this cost estimate has the greenway is a multi-use path.
It does. Yeah, the yellow on the three legs is a 10-foot wide multi-purpose path.
Yeah, because it matches up with our Greenway master plan. So there's certain elements of that we could cut to bring down the overall cost of the project. That this was just taking it, once again, encompassing our Greenway master plan with those. So that's why that's part of like the project scope in their analysis.
But either way, we'd still be on the hook of a 20% match.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
Shared with the county, we have our critical intersection program, the local match money that we have was reauthorized for 5 years for, another $500,000. So literally, you're talking about every dollar the county has in its program for the next 5 years assigned to this one project.
We also have not gotten any of that money in the past, so.
Yeah.
So Bjorn, have you,
Margins.
I know you said the Waxhaw discussion was based off staff recommendations. Have you, or do you plan to have the same conversation with their board? See if that changes?
No. No, that is elected official to elected official level
Okay.
at this point.
And we can plan to do that at our level to see
Right.
if.
No, it was funny. Kim and I, we were at a Rotary club last week and ran into Mayor Pappas, and he jokingly said, I hear we have some discussion to talk about some roads or something like that, but we didn't have that opportunity. But he knows that we want to chat with them, and I think it makes sense to sit down with their board or just him and just, kind of, it is what it is. Keep in mind that, if we're going to ask them for participation on that, they're going to want, years ago, they came to me to get participation on the intersection of Bonds Grove and 16, I believe.
Which is the one that just.
Yeah, that's the one they brought up in the staff level
Right,
discussion.
Right. So it's like, okay, what could we expect to get? What is that going to cost there? I would imagine this is going to be a lot more than the other one.
Yeah,
So,
that project's on the order of $1 million. This is.
right.
It's on the screen.
Right. So that being said, and the fact that just geographically, the majority of it, I believe, is people coming, if you look at it as a daily, not looking at it on a weekend, the daily traffic is coming from Waxhaw, and whether it's Bonds Grove, and it's just going to get worse once they start the construction on 16. I mean, I would particularly be in favor of something like this, but that's the opinion of one that doesn't have a vote. And, just wanted to bring it to council to kind of get it on the radar, because it looks like we have at least 5 years to plan for this, funding wise. So just want to put it out to you guys, or any thoughts you may have.
When are you needing an answer from us in terms of if we would commit?
Realistically, in the next 3 or 4 weeks. Because the application's due at the end of October, we would then have to take this to county commission for
Their
approval.
consideration.
So, yeah, I would say within the next 4 weeks, we need to know what's the course of action.
So just to my board, we can actually have, if we can arrange a meeting with perhaps you and maybe the mayor of Waxhaw or some type of presentation to their board, so we can see what the input from Waxhaw would actually be if they're interested in this. We can also run some numbers in our PAL bill projections and tell you how that's going to impact. I mean, that's a large chunk of money that we had not planned for, just being realistic. We would have to figure out how we're going to match that, if we're going to do a fund balance appropriation, if we're going to go up on taxes, or how we're going to do that. So we would need to kind of have some of that stuff answered for you guys to make that determination at some point.
And one thing, if Waxhaw were to go on board, that would split it, about 6.6%. I mean, it'd be about 300 to maybe 400,000 at this number. With that being said, if their ask was for us to match or to do another joint application, if it is the intersection improvements at Providence and Bonds Grove, I feel like the cost would still come out the same to an extent on what's still coming out, but would it be broken up? Could it be like based off of maybe how it is programmed in the state? Be broken up?
I don't really understand the partnership opportunity at Bonds Grove and 16. The town put in, I want to say approximately like $300,000 on that. And that money's going to come due a lot sooner. So I'm not sure if it's like a cash flow question or if it's a grow the pot question. I'm just not sure.
Okay.
One thing that I'm concerned about, and, we keep talking about all these road improvements, and it's making it safer to traverse these roads. But one thing that I noticed when these 2 traffic circles were put in, a significant increase in the traffic on Waxhaw Marvin Road. I mean, I'm talking like 30% more immediately because it was easier to traverse. So every time we do an intersection improvement and make the traffic flow better, we seem to be getting a more flow. 16 is not ideal by any stretch of the imagination to travel. So the more we make it easy to traverse through Marvin, the more traffic we seem to get, which overloads our roads that are already. I mean, if you sit in my driveway and watch the traffic in the morning from 6:30 to 9:30, it's just constant back both directions. So I mean, this just scares me because we're putting a traffic circle in here, which is much needed. We put a traffic circle in there, which is much needed, but then potentially how much more traffic are we going to encourage to drive Waxhaw Marvin corridor from Waxhaw to Ballantyne? Because that is the commute traffic that we see through our village. So that's what, I mean, I know we need the improvements, but this is what concerns me as what is going to be the result of making this a more streamlined corridor for people to travel? Are we looking at highway volumes through our village?
Yeah, in the end, not to answer fully your question, I'll leave that for Bjorn, but I sort of asked that question about that doesn't that increase the, the amount of traffic because it's going to be easier to get there.
Mhm.
But I think Bjorn, you said it well, it's like, there's no way we're getting rid of this traffic. I mean, it's coming regardless.
But you
and
can
it's-
mitigate traffic by, I mean, yeah, we're making it, all right, two things. One is safe. Safety is first.
Right.
So we're mitigate, and if we look at Marvin, we have that roundabout. Because we're talking about land and building houses, well, we're running out of land. We're running out of, so if we put that roundabout in, and we put the roundabout, which we already started, and we put the roundabout in by Joe Carr and Marvin, we're done. We're not putting in another roundabout.
True.
But the mitigation part comes from where does that all lead? And it all leads right there. The Newtown Road, that one section. The mitigation comes from that. When you take that to 15 miles an hour, you know what? It's easier for me to just go ahead and go down 16 and take a left on Ray Road.
True. I mean, but that's, and
So again, you can't change one factor and then not change another. So listen, if I could snap my finger and put that roundabout in, and the one down there, we're done. We kind of cleaned our hands of it. Then we can mitigate it through one section.
well, it's all about timing, I think, Jamie, and that's I'm just bringing this up because it's not that I don't want the roundabouts, because I absolutely do. I think they make perfect sense from a safety standpoint. I just worry about the volume that we have now and the potential volume, especially with, and I hate to call them out, but Waxhaw's plan to double their population. Their planning is making a lot more. So the more people that are moving to that area and are still traversing to Charlotte for employment, because I don't see any office buildings going up out there where they can stay there and work. So the more people that move to the area, the more commuter traffic that runs this corridor. And until 16 is developed 10 years from now, or 8 years from now, or whatever, when it's finished, it's all coming this way. And it's hard to swallow because no matter how safe your intersections are, the sheer volume of traffic makes the roads more dangerous. We don't have roads adequate to handle high volumes of traffic. They're windy, they're twisty, there's no room to pass. I see people passing on double yellow lines all the time. I see all these things because of the sheer volume that moves through. So are we fixing one problem and creating another, or are we actually, I mean, these are just questions I'm just trying to answer. I'm not criticizing the project. I'm just trying to get some discussion about this. Is like, well, once we create this corridor, what do we do to, mitigate the traffic? I get the Heritage District, but what else? Because we're not mitigating that on these long stretches of Waxhaw Marvin Road where there is no way to slow the traffic down or thin the traffic out. So that's all I'm asking, I know, you say that we're done with traffic circles once those are done, but what about, Henry Nesbitt and Waxhaw Marvin Road where there's a ton of traffic in that intersection, which is in a hard curve that is a very dangerous intersection as well. So, and then you add more traffic to that, that makes it even worse. And you can see the line of traffic backing up into South Carolina every day, just trying to make a right or a left onto Waxhaw Marvin Road at that intersection. It gets deeper and deeper and deeper every day. So I just feel like with more volume, you create more issues with other intersections that aren't as critical right now because you just can't get out.
I totally agree. I'm just pointing out that there's other ways of, because we're trying to slow them down.
Mhm.
And because we are not going to stop the flow.
Right.
That is evident. But what we can do is if I'm sitting there, I'm going, okay, I can just go down Providence Road, hang a left on Ray and be done. Because I don't want to go through this down here because I got to slow down and it's going to get backed up but it's slowed down to 15 and I got law enforcement every day. I can't do that.
Right.
So, I'm all for putting in because I do think it's safe. Then the other part for us is to say, we're going to slow it down.
I just think we need to, if we're talking about the improvements in the intersections, I think we just also need to be consistently considering ways to, because we know the volume is going to increase. So we just need to continually look at ways to control that volume, I guess is my thing. It's just, how do we make the rest of the village safe once we fix these intersections and we encourage more traffic? That's my only point.
The only thing I think of offhand is we've talked about it is taking over the roads from roundabout to future roundabout and not allowing heavy, like big rigs and stuff like that. And they'd have to redirect them to a different area. That would alleviate some of it. But to your point about the roundabouts and when we're done is if you think about all those proposed that have not happened yet, those are the most dangerous areas in Marvin.
Mhm.
It's Joe Carr Road, it's Marvin Road that's coming, and it's this road right here. And, so it's not like we're doing it. Now, what concerns me in the red flag is when Christina, you mentioned the potential of raising taxes. So we're raising taxes really to alleviate the traffic for Waxhaw residents, if you think about it, because that's where that's essentially where it's coming from.
I know, but all I'm saying is I'm okay with, because once we put those three in, for all intents and purposes, if we can identify, we can always put another one in. But for us to mitigate the traffic, I'll give a prime example, and I use this all the time. Blowing Rock, you can go, before they put that bypass in, I can either go through Blowing Rock, which God, I just don't want to do because I'm not stopping there. I'm not shopping. I'm not going through the shops. I'm not doing anything. The only reason for you to go there is because you want to shop in those shops.
Mhm.
Or you take their Providence Road and go through and keep going. So all I'm looking at is this has been mitigated before across the country in many different ways. We can put all of these things in to keep it safer. So no one's running into each other. But what we can do is roundabout to roundabout go, it's 15 miles an hour. And then the only reason that you would go down through there is you're stopping the shop.
Okay, so we can sit here and talk about like we're going to mitigate it after it goes in and all that stuff, but when did okay, so it's our portion is 5% of the 10%.
No, it'd be it would be
10% right now, without Waxhaw
Okay.
being involved. Is that correct? Yep.
400,000.
And that's if
400 or
county agrees to.
Over 500,000 from dollars that were done in 2020. And when do they want this $1 million?
So basically, we would have to commit, as in like verbally commit. It's kind of similar to the whole Greenway project. Like we'd be verbally committing to match those funds over the long term. And then if
What's
approved,
the long term? And when do they want the money?
that's the whole thing. If approved, it depends on when they break it on the STIP. Right now, it'd probably be over fiscal years 26 and 27.
Okay. So, but we're not sure yet. So we're gonna say, sure, we're gonna do something without concrete knowledge. And then how many corners of that intersection are in Marvin?
The whole northern section is, and
So one of three?
I can't remember, is the northern part of the Waxhaw Marvin as well?
Well, I know the horse farm is, the one, the brick house across is, I'm not sure about the wooded area, if part of it's county or,
It's a portion of Marvin, it's a portion unincorporated.
Yeah.
yeah, it's,
But no Waxhaw.
No Waxaw.
So let me ask this.
Hold on, I'm not finished.
Okay.
So my point is,
Yeah.
I agree. It is a terrible intersection. I agree that safety is first. What I don't agree upon is us starting down this path of another roundabout when we don't have the most recent one done yet, and it ain't looking good to get done next year as it is. So, and then they want us to commit to a certain percentage of a dollar amount that they don't know what it is because it was based on 2020 dollars. We're in 2022. So I'd actually like to get updated numbers. And then when do you want it? When is this actually going to happen? And for me, if Waxhaw is not involved, because I mean, you know, the amount of people coming from Marvin down Waxhaw Marvin Road into Waxhaw on a Saturday or Friday night is not near the volume that comes up through on a Monday through a Friday and back down. So until Waxhaw's on board with this, I'm not.
So to your point about that, Kim, about the numbers, what that, is there a potential to write into the contract, the 10%, whatever, not to exceed X amount of dollars, so we're not on the hook for, because if they drag their feet because of a hurricane, another pandemic or whatever, that's not on us, but it's, you know, is it possible to write that? The other thing is, the question I had for you, Bjorn, is what is the alternative? If we're coming after funds for the CRTPO to help us out with this, and for council to understand, is if we don't consider this in favorably, then what is our alternative 10 years, 7 years down the road, whenever that becomes another safety issue because of people eating that, or it goes to even a red light, whatever. What's the alternative from a funding standpoint?
Well, from a funding standpoint?
Well, I mean, because we're going through CRTPO and proposing this. I mean, this is an opportunity now, which you kind of implied that this may be something that DOT jumps on board. And by the way, I agree with you about it. We don't know about that roundabout if it's going to go in next summer, but that is already funded. Correct. That's already, you're not looking for funds there. That's already funded. Now it's just a matter of what it's going to cost once they finally do it and what we're on the hook for. But I guess I'm looking at what's the alternative if we don't in favorably consider.
I think it should go on the federal crash list where they do it and they pay for all of it.
Well, NCDOT would approach it as a spot safety issue when it comes down to it, if we
That's
just
what I'm
leave it.
saying. Because we were so great and making sure all of our residents have been so safe, and other residents from other municipalities and Union County and South Carolina, that we couldn't get that and get it done quicker and get it paid for. So we're paying for roads that aren't ours. And this is
So
what they want us to do again.
So if I might suggest a couple of different things, it sounds like we really want to understand if Waxhaw is on board with this or not to make a final determination. Their next
Hey,
meeting is scheduled.
Christina, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I'm looking at all these numbers, and stuff that I see is from 7/31/2020. That data is 2 years old. I need up-to-date data.
Right. I just crunched the numbers, and it just given a 10% influx in that based off of what we've seen in CPI, it's right around $400,000 to $600,000, depending on if Waxhaw contributes.
I'm not even talking about money. I want the crash data too.
Okay.
Crash data is in the information sheet if you scroll down.
From
So
2020. I want it from the last 2 years too.
We can't, I mean, the crash data, we'd have to, you guys had
It's not gonna be available in time for the
Yeah.
application.
we can get, I mean, the only thing we can do is do an updated traffic count. And I mean, try to get,
I'm
I
just
guess. look
saying
at
for
it.
me, if you guys want us to make a decision, I need up-to-date information. That's all I'm saying. And if you can't get up-to-date information, then I don't know that I can give you an answer. That's what I'm saying. That may not be how the whole board feels, but if you're asking us to pony up, almost $1 million, without accurate information, I can't very well go back to our constituents and say, hey, we're going to raise taxes. We're not sure how much it's going to cost, and we're not sure really why we're doing it because we don't really know the information. I have a hard time with that.
So Bjorn, let me ask you this. So it sounds like we need to do some work on our end. Number one, we want to check with Waxaw, see how they're feeling on this. We also want to run some projections on our end to see what the tax impact is going to be, if any, based off of updated numbers, crash data, all of that stuff. If we say yes to you verbally in 3 weeks, and then we turn around in 5 to 6 weeks and say, yeah, this doesn't make sense to us, how does that impact things?
So the project disappears.
Yeah,
Okay.
we just
So
put
you're
it-
just asking us for a verbal, you're not asking us to approve a resolution in support?
I mean, whatever it takes for Village of Marvin and or Town of Waxhaw to commit to the match share that we could then take to the county commissioners and say, here's this bundled arrangement and partnership to apply for funds. That's what we would take forward.
But I don't think we can answer that question today. I don't think we can answer it.
Does
Raise
Wax
it in
gotta go
3
before
weeks.
their board too, to get the thumbs up on, from them, do they not?
They would, and they're,
It's a
and they're,
little time,
yeah.
And that runs into, do we have enough time for October, but
Well, we
So
could,
we can crunch some information on our end, at least from a PAL bill projection standpoint, so y'all can see everything that we've got coming over in the next 10 years to say, this is what it's gonna boil down in terms of PAL bill dollars. This is what it's gonna take for a fund balance appropriation, just based off the numbers that we have here. That's not including any work that you need to do on your end to update the numbers and the crash data, that information. But I feel like the contribution from Waxaw is also gonna be a big part of that. We can crunch all those numbers and put it into the meeting for 9:15 that we have and have that information 9:13 for you all to make a decision from there if that's what you're interested in.
Christina?
go ahead, Wayne.
I'm gonna have to agree with Kim. I know I don't agree with her very much, but I really don't see this. And what really concerns me, that if we agreed to do this and that roundabout got built before the one next to Joe's place, at Marvin Road in Newtown. If it was, completed before then, we'd look like fools here. Why'd you do something way down here when you've been years trying to get this one done?
I highly doubt that even if we submitted this application, that roundabout would get done before this one. I mean,
Hunter, you could doubt all you want, but this was supposed to be done 3 years ago. So
We'll get some more information back to you all. And we'll try to get a meeting scheduled with the county, if not attending.
If any council members want to sit in with me with Mayor Pappas, it'd be,
I'd love to.
okay, well, that'd be good. So we'll get that scheduled with him and see if he can come up here. But again, they'll have to go before their council, and it's just, I'm looking at the timing. If it's a verbal, but then if it goes to a vote and we say yes, Waxaw says no, then I think we're gonna probably come back and revisit that, because I think they really should be a part of this.
So I'm also having a meeting with DOT about, we've been entertaining a potential for a GO bond for road improvements, and this could be part of what's put into that package. And if that's the case, that can help with some of the funding sources. I'm having that meeting with DOT on August 30th, so I'll ask some questions about that and spot safety. Do you want to come back to our meeting on September 13th and kind of?
That'd be helpful. That's fine.
So let me ask you, okay, so the spot safety thing you're talking about, okay, so then what you're saying is if the intersection's bad enough, DOT is just gonna fix it no matter what. Whether we put in or not, they're gonna fix it for
No.
safety reasons?
No, this intersection's way too expensive to be a spot safety.
Okay. So will they put in something if it becomes like a high crash? I mean, so the data right there, to Kim's point, that's 2-year-old crash data. The volume has increased significantly since that last data was pulled. So, you know, are we getting more accidents at that and more severe now than what we were? And is DOT going to consider that at all?
Consider it for what?
For.
Well, that's why we submitted the request for it to be analyzed for some interim improvements, potentially signalization, potentially an all-way stop, is because those are low-cost things that they'd be able to potentially fund through a spot safety type of project.
100%.
Possibly. They actually don't like signals without turn lanes. So the signal might require some local help, but if you don't even have the warrants met, the justification, you don't have anything. So that's the first step. And the roundabout funding, the schedule, it's nothing until something actually gets submitted. So all this is the first step. How long it takes is just an estimate.
Bjorn, did I hear you say that this would not be a viable intersection for the spot safety thing because it's too expensive?
As a roundabout project, yes.
So when we were told by I'm just making sure I'm understanding this. I'm not trying to be a jerk. When we were told by DOT that the reason that Marvin and Newtown didn't get done quicker was because we didn't have more accidents and more people dead. I use the word body bags. They didn't really like that, but essentially that we didn't have that if we would have had more accidents and more dead people, that it would have gotten done quicker and they would have paid for it. But this intersection is just going to cost too much, so it doesn't matter how many people die.
Kim, you're probably what DOT was saying is that, as in for the spot safety project, is they would have made maybe some improvements if it would have been a signal interchange or something. I could be wrong.
No. DOT told me in our meeting, sitting there, that it would have gotten done faster and that they would have paid a lot more money for it if more people there would have been more fatalities there.
Which sort of led to the argument of us putting police officers there
Yeah.
because that
Correct.
was making the intersection safer and we were.
But my point is, so now an intersection is too expensive. The roundabout's too expensive for NCDOT to come in and do it if the more people are dying.
I can ask them that question when I meet with them next week.
Yeah, would you? Just like that.
I mean, that's huge because, and that's to Kim's point with that is like, what is the crash data today? And is DOT going to act on that crash data, or is it not enough for them to pursue that avenue? Do we have to?
Well, it sounds like it doesn't matter. It sounds like we could have 100 dead people there a day, but it's too expensive to build it to do anything about it. So they're gonna come back to the county and to the municipalities to ask for help with that. I'm just making sure I got all my ducks in a row, making sure I'm understanding that accurately.
Yeah, and Bjorn, to your point too, I'm looking at the most recent 2022 awards that were issued for highway safety improvement, which I assume is spot safety.
Probably. Yeah.
And most of them are 800. There's a couple of them 1.7 million, 1.6 million. There's one for 2.5. So I don't see any in excess of 3 to 4 million, which may prove to your point. But there are some in here with multiple millions of dollars. Like there's several with 1.7s. But I'll ask that question. Most of these are smaller funded projects, it looks like.
So we've got. from
Oh, here's a
before,
4.4.
We basically have, let's get a meeting with Waxaw, see where they're at. I would like to have a thumbs up or down, obviously, before October, when the time frame is by the end of October. Some of these questions will be answered, some won't, but I think at this point, it's an ask. Do we want to participate in something like this, not knowing what we don't know? And it's like anything else, at least gets us on the radar for that location. And it's one step closer to finishing and being done with the roundabouts.
It's not going away.
No.
If we vote this down, if we go, no, you know what, we're not gonna do it. Do y'all reasonably think that it's gonna go away? It's just, we're just gonna, if we ignore it, it's not gonna. It's not, I'm just saying, all we're doing in that, listen, I don't wanna raise taxes. I don't wanna do any of that. We're talking, we do have the opportunity to do a geo bond, right? It's not going away. All we're doing is kicking the can down the road. And I gotta be honest with you, I'm not like, not no, but hell no. Why are we putting a signal down there? Well, because to his point, you can't just put a signal down there. If that's the case, we just put one of those temporary signals down there and be done with it. Well, let's just wipe our hands of it. There are no turn lanes, because now you got to put a shovel in the ground to it. So if we're gonna do it, let's do it right. Do it one time and do it right, as opposed to, let's just keep muddying the water, just mucking it up and just going. It's not going away. And imagine if we'd have put a stoplight right there at the corner of Waxhaw, Marvin and Newtown. We'd still have lines of traffic backed up to Andy's house and people would still be raising hell. So again, if I knew that if we didn't do it, traffic would go somewhere else and do something else.
Yeah, and
Let's hope that NCDOT takes care of Providence Road. That's gotta, and quite honestly, that's gotta happen sooner than 2030.
yeah, keep in mind, this roundabout right outside here, I think they predicted it would fail when they put it in within 10 to 15 years. And I jokingly, when I went through to pick you up, I saw how backed up it was already. I'm like, it's starting to fail already with the amount. So that means that's going to be a second lane, is my understanding, will be put in these roundabouts and stuff.
But you know what, at least we planned for it.
Right.
And that's a roundabout.
Right.
We put a traffic signal down there. All we're doing is just going down. We
I'm,
did something.
let's face it, I'm not for a traffic light, only because it takes away from the feel of what Marvin is and stuff. I hate to see a traffic light in Marvin. Roundabouts are, in my view, the way to go.
Well, we're not talking a permanent solution, we're talking about an interim until a roundabout can be built to control it and
Right.
make it safer. And I'm for that for a
But
temporary.
But to his point is, if we do nothing, then the project goes away. At least it's a planning project that we're saying yes to at this point. And if we can go back and say, you know what, because of Waxhaw or whatever, we're out. I just think from that perspective, it's at least a plan that we have in place. I don't think any town or any area can tell us or DOT can tell us when things are going to get built. There are so many bogeys in that. That's just a fact that we have to live with. And, but having a plan for it that we planned and we started saving or put it towards the bond. At least it's a plan we have in place. That's where I'm at on it, as I tried to figure this all out and saying that, is this something that obviously we wanted to bring to the board, something we move forward on.
But, and Joe, you made a great point. We can still, you don't walk into something in a decision without any kind of leverage. And our leverage would be is put that in there. And then North Carolina DOT and Union County and everyone goes, well, Marvin kind of put the flag in the ground, and then it's not doing because it's going to be this or we're out. I want to push it back on Bjorn and go, you know what? We're going to put that statement in there. And so you're going to have to figure it out, not us. We're saying we're committing to it, but y'all need to, somebody needs to step up and go, well, we don't feel like doing that, and we'll push it back, because that's what happened to us on this roundabout here. We just let them play us. We didn't bring any leverage to the table at all. And in any kind of decision, especially when you're talking about financial, if you don't have leverage in it,
You're gonna get taken
you have the
advantage
tail
of.
wagging the dog. And if we put that in there, then they're like, oh, well, it wasn't a priority, but we better start making it a priority because it's gonna cost us more money.
Problem is DOT doesn't operate like that. If we come in with this, saying this is like the flag, they're gonna say, yeah, okay, well, we're not doing that. That's my experience.
But it's better to have nothing and let them, because right now, we already know what that outcome is.
Right.
So what I'll do is I'll work with Christina as well as Bjorn and get additional information, bring that back to you guys for the September meeting. And, as well as work on whatever communication we need to have with Waxaw and get you all the information for you guys and then maybe consider it further there at the regular meeting in September.
Any other questions? Bob?
No, I agree with everything that's being said from Jamie's point of view, is that it's a safety issue and we need to address it. It's not going away. And everybody's saying all the right things, especially yourself, Andy. This is not getting any better. If I had had my way, I would have put 3 stop signs over here and made it miserable, absolutely miserable for people to get on the Marvin in Newtown. But the problem is, guess what? I live right there. It ain't going away. It's no type of a deterrent. No matter what we do, people are starting to back up to almost a firethorn at times. They're trying to, it doesn't stop them. And it's not getting any better. I hate to say that, if somebody has an issue about traffic here, you're almost getting to the next point that you almost want to say, just move, go to Montana. Because, it's not stopping. It's getting worse. And we've got to address it. But to Kim's point, this becomes a safety issue. Maybe somebody needs to perish at that area, and finally it gets their attention. And maybe that at that point, there's more, it all comes down to money. And where's DOT going to pony up? And when do they take control and say, we've got an issue about this road? But I like the strategy that Jamie's laying out and saying that, we just, I like that term, put the flag in the ground.
Okay. I think we have.
All right,
an
let's,
answer for-
I think we've got a good,
Yeah, I was just
let's
wrapping
go.
up.
Move on.
Okay. I was just doing that. You didn't give me a chance. You would have elbowed me, I'm sure, if you were
Oh,
right here.
I'd have kicked you hard by now.
I felt the elbow through Zoom right now, so, but we will, we obviously have a meeting in, September coming up, and we'll have, hopefully a meeting with Waxaw by then and at least get a general, thing for that. But thanks for coming, Bjorn, and for
Yeah.
presenting all that. Thank you. All right, next up on the agenda is discussion and consider approval of interlocal agreement with Union County for $25,000 for transportation improvements.
So moved.
All I was going to say real quick is that this is that
We-
$25,000
We already talked
that
about this, did we not?
I know, but I'm just trying to clarify on, it's on the agenda. However, the county still has to approve it at their September meeting before we actually approve it.
Okay.
Chaplain's reviewed this. He's good with it. Basically, if you guys are good with it, we can put it on the consent agenda for the regular meeting.
Okay.
Because it basically was on this agenda just because we were timing up with the county. So
Okay.
we can put it on the consent agenda to be approved.
And
as
it's
long
really
as
up to
it
county to
meets-
approve it.
Yeah, and if it doesn't, then we'll pull it, but it should all be ready to go for that September meeting.
Okay. Thank you for,
Hang on, procedurally, there's a motion on the table. So
She has to either choose to withdraw her motion or continue.
say again.
It's a discussion and consider approval. So do we not need to discuss and consider? We've already discussed it, so are we not voting on it? If not, then it needs to be laid out differently.
This was on the last work session agenda and it was pulled, and then I guess also it was automatically moved, and couldn't get in and change anything on it. So it was just kind of put on the agenda and we weren't able to mess with any of the attachments.
So procedurally, there's a motion on the table. You
I'll
guys can
withdraw it. I mean, come on, guys. Like, let's get it together here.
So is there any more discussion on it then from what you're just updating?
Yeah. This was originally on the agenda, just contingent upon the county getting the approval. That's why it was still here. And now that I know from discussion with Bjorn that the county commissioner should be approving it at their meeting on September 6th, that we can then approve it and enter into it on the regular meeting now.
Okay.
So
Any questions from council? All right, so can we make a motion now?
do we have to make a motion to put on consent?
No, you don't want a motion for consent.
No motion for
So we'll
consent.
put it on consent for the September
Okay.
meeting.
Unless there's an objection, we'll put it on the consent agenda. Thank you. Anything else? All right, thank you, Bjorn.
Thanks, Bjorn.
Next up, we have consider appointment of applicants to the planning board for terms expiring 3/1/2023 and 3/1/2024.
Okay, so you guys have 3 applicants for 2 positions. We previously lost our former chairman, John Jones. He just stepped down. We also lost Kent Renner. He stepped down due to other obligations. You have 3 applicants, Will Owens, Lori Kiffmeyer, and Joshua Donovan. Their applications are in your packets. You guys, I think we notified you of these a couple weeks ago. So really, it's just whoever you choose to appoint for the terms expiring March 1st, 2023 and March 1st, 2024. So you have 3.
Who's called these people and talked to them?
I've talked to one of the 3.
I know you have, Kim.
I've talked to one of the 3 so far, and I've
This is
reviewed their,
somebody you already know. Has anybody called the other 2 people that have been submitted their application?
No.
personally. No.
Okay, do we not, I am not, again, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but do we not care who we put on the planning board? I do, because I don't want people on the planning board who are voting one way and then saying other things in public. So I actually care about who we were putting on the planning board. So my suggestion is, I have talked to 2 of the 3 people. The one person has not returned my phone call yet. So I am prepared to vote for one person. One person has only lived in Marvin about a year. I think they need to have a little bit more experience being in Marvin before they get on the planning board. But I would suggest that everybody takes the time to call these people and talk to them. We don't want, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I'm very frustrated because we've had these applications for a month. Like, we need to take, like, if we're going to do our jobs, let's do our jobs. And I'll make a motion to appoint Will Owens to the planning board because I know I've talked to him. Joe, I know you've talked to him. Probably everybody's talked to him about it. But I don't think anybody else has talked to the other 2 people.
So if you want to make a nomination, or if you want to nominate him, go ahead and do that. We can vote on that.
I just did.
All right.
Really fast, the motion needs to include the term expiration. Would you like to appoint him
For
to
the term expiring 3/1/24.
Okay, so there's a motion on the table for Will Owens to be appointed for the term expiring 3/1/2024. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, sounds like a unanimous vote. And then at this point, I will, if nobody else is going to make a motion for the second term, then I would suggest that council reach out to the 2 applicants to determine which one, to Kim's point, maybe get to know them and figure out, because these are people that are making recommendations to us. Take a minute and call them. They don't return their call, they don't return a call, but we have at least attempted.
So we will bring this back.
And if somebody doesn't return your call, I think that says a lot.
Okay, that's fair.
So do you guys want me to bring this back at the regular meeting for the other?
Yeah, the regular meeting, so by the regular meeting, we can appoint the second person.
Work
which is a
session.
two-
Do it at the work session.
Okay, September work session.
Oh, okay, next work session, which is in a month. Okay. So we'll move the second appointment to the next work session, if you would, Austin.
That'll work.
All right. So moving forward, we're going to go on to consider appointment of applicants to wayfinding and branding committee for the duration of the project.
Okay, see, again, here we have 2 vacancies. We have 3 applicants. This is not as formal of a board as the planning board, the board of adjustment, the PRNG board. So you guys can choose to appoint just 2 of the 3 applicants, or you can appoint all 3 and just expand the size of the committee. I'm fine, as a staff member, as one of the project managers for this project, I'm fine either way.
Does that affect quorum?
It really wouldn't. It's still, you would still, well, it would actually, because you go up to 6. It would require, the threshold for a quorum would go up by 1, but
4.
just 4, yes.
Okay.
But that, I don't see that being a real issue.
I'm fine with all 3 of them. Actually, because I think they all 3 bring something unique to the table.
They do, and there's, especially, it's being promulgated by the fact of the Heritage District. So you have, at least 2 folks that are involved, with that kind of branding. What would people see, that sort of thing. So I'm good with all 3 as well.
So, the motion would, I'm revising the
So,
motion.
hold
for
on.
the system.
I have something to say. I am good with 2 of the 3. In terms of Jake, he was very concerned about the amount of time that this may take, and it's very unknown. Even, I was talking to Christina about it yesterday. She said, it could be 30 minutes one day, it could be 4 hours one day. We just don't know. So that concerns me, and I'm not sure that he showed up a lot to the Heritage District meetings.
He was there almost every one of them, Tim. He was involved.
I was told that he missed a few meetings. So I'm good with Will and Mindy.
Really fast, I just want to brief you all on the commitments for the members. This is, me and Jill were on a call with the vendor 2 weeks ago now. We generally do have time estimates on how long each meeting will take. And I have spoken with Jake about this. He is fine. The initial meeting involves a lunch, which he would miss, but would be there for the second half where we go into a big roundtable discussion. He's personally comfortable with it. As far as his attendance.
Wait, hold on. Did you just say that he already knows he's going to miss a lunch?
The first meeting, we haven't formally nailed down the dates yet. The first meeting we have set for October 24th. That's the temporary
did you just
date.
say that? Yes or no?
Yes. He said that he knew of a lunch that he was going to miss.
But once we go into the formal roundtable discussion, he would be there for that. The lunch would just be introductory.
Okay, well, I think probably the introduction to it is probably, a tone setting meeting to know what we're going to be doing. I'm just saying, we don't have to have 3. That's not what it was set up for. 3 additional people. That's not what it was originally set up for. So if we already know that there may be time restrictions, then why are we even considering it?
So,
you guys vote how you want to.
Adding 3 would change the quorum, just so you know. So if we're prepared, you want to make a motion to nominate the individuals that you want at this time, Kim?
I'll make I'll do it. I'll make a motion to appoint Will Owens and Melinda Nielsen to the Wayfinding and Branding Committee. I think that's what it's called.
And at the end of the day, we can always come back and add one onto that committee if it, understanding that it would affect quorum. So there's a motion on the table for the discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so motion passes for them, and with Jake, we'll just have to, yeah. Okay, so moving forward, Next up, we have consider adoption of ordinance to extend the corporate limits of the Village of Marvin, North Carolina.
So this is just the annexation ordinance for the two Weddington Chase properties. You guys have discussed this thoroughly. We held the public hearing at a previous meeting. This is just the formal approval, since we've now eclipsed the 60-day requirement in our annexation agreement with the town of Weddington and the city of Charlotte.
So that's why we're not doing it in the regular meeting?
Yeah, we hold the public hearing at the last regular meeting, but we just needed to wait like 4 additional days to formally be able to approve it.
Okay. All right. So do we need a motion on that?
Yes.
Okay. So anyone want to take a stab at that? Consider as presented.
The motion's in your, on your iPad.
All right. Trying to find it. Which one is it of all these attachments?
Oh my God, I'll make a motion to adopt the ordinance to extend the corporate limits of the Village of Marvin, North Carolina as presented.
Okay, what is that acceptable?
That's it.
Okay,
Okay.
all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye,
Thank you, Wayne.
you're welcome.
Motion is passed unanimously. Next up, consider adoption of ordinance to rezone the annex parcels to Marvin RUC.
Now that these properties have been annexed, as Austin mentioned, we held the public hearing at the August regular meeting to designate these properties as Marvin RUC. It's what all Weddington Chase is, what all the properties surround with. So there's an ordinance, and so we just have to adopt an ordinance to validate that rezoning now.
All right, so I'm going to make a motion to adopt the ordinance to rezone the annex parcels to Marvin RUC.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Next up, discussion and consideration of TUP application 22-12928 for construction trailer for the Marvin Gardens Phase 1.
So this is just a temporary use permit. Per our ordinance, has to be approved by council for a construction trailer and or construction and storage trailer. This is for Marvin Gardens out parcel 2 and building 4, which was approved back in like October, November. From a zoning standpoint, be a Dunkin' Donuts and an additional like restaurant building, and then out parcel or building 4 will then look like the same building. So contract is about to get underway, and they're just, ask for this TUP.
Is that for in the corner right there?
Building
That's what we
4?
talked about the rest.
Building 4 will extend off of where like the Southern Gourmet and all that is right now,
Okay.
that strip. And then
Okay.
out parcel 2 is beside the 7-Eleven.
Besides 7-Eleven. Okay. Any questions on that? So need a motion for that, correct?
I'd like to make a motion to approve TUP application 22-12928 and to find that the application is complete and the proposed temporary use is in compliance with section 151.051 of the Village of Marvin zoning ordinance.
Further discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Next up, we have discussion of alcohol exemption from purchasing policy for Village Hall ribbon cutting ceremony. Whose is this?
That's me. Basically, section 9.6 of our purchasing policy prohibits, 9.3, prohibits the use of funds for alcoholic beverages. There are statutes that say we can do it, so it's not anything that we would be doing illegally. It's not allowed in our purchasing policy. So I'm asking you guys for a specific waiver on this section of our purchasing policy for wine vouchers for the ribbon cutting.
And that's how we're doing it, wine vouchers?
Yeah, we'll print out little tickets so that everyone that attends will only have 2 drinks when they come to the ribbon cutting.
Okay.
So we'll limit the amounts and,
Do we have an official bartender at
We
this
do.
event? Okay.
yeah, and we'll be checking IDs and we'll have a little champagne toast, just something formal for the formal event of a ribbon cutting. We typically don't do this, but this is a kind of one-time event, so
Okay.
if I can get a motion on that.
So I'd like to make a motion to approve the exemption from the village's purchasing policy to allow for the purchase of alcohol for the Village Hall ribbon cutting ceremony.
Further discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Wayne, you still there? Okay, there you go. I just didn't hear you in the last one either, so, okay, we know you're there. Next up, we have discussion of fall town hall meeting.
Okay, really briefly, this is the draft agenda based on everything that was given to me at the previous, I guess it was 2 meetings ago now. Really, I guess what I'm asking for here is there anything that's missing? Do you want to add anything else? Do you guys want to go ahead and just determine if any of y'all want to speak on any of these issues? We're just trying to get ahead of the game as far as planning goes.
Any changes on the agenda that we think we are missing? The only thing, given that what we talked about earlier today is addressing, maybe a short stint where we address the public comments or the next door comments and stuff, and, maybe a little time space for that, just really encouraging people to kind of look to Christina or you or,
We do have communication on here at the bottom. We
Yeah,
can put that
that'd
in.
be 15.
okay, so,
We can move that up to towards the beginning of the meeting if you'd like. That
Yeah.
way it would be, if someone is listening, they'd be more likely to hear it.
yeah, I'd rather move that is the only thing. So I guess a change on that, moving up in front. Everything else I thought was,
And who do you want to have that conversation?
do we want to talk about some of the reasons for the change, one of the changes we made for automobiles and stuff like that? Vehicle
We
tax?
can add that, yeah. We'll make a note of that.
Only just more of an information type thing that we're, it's
Okay,
something
well,
that,
okay, I think that's a great idea, but I did ask the question, who do you want to have that conversation? Who do you want to be the speaker about communications?
I don't mind.
I mean, I figured you talk about coffee with council, Jamie, and it might go hand in hand with it.
Okay, that's fine.
okay, anything else for anyone?
I don't know if this is because I put this down for open topics, but we're into this. We have decided, and I think it's great. I love that we're doing a town hall twice a year, once in the spring and once in the fall. Because we're having so many issues of misinformation and so on, would we, and I'm throwing it out there, because I can pitch or catch on this. Would it be worth our while to have 2 main town hall meetings and then add in another town hall meeting or town hall function where people can come in and address these? And I know we have coffee with council, but would it serve this council better to have one additional pseudo town hall meeting so that we can address stuff like this?
So.
Do you mean, Jamie, like having everybody come in and just basically sit there and be like, hit us with it? What do you got?
Yeah, absolutely. Because here, Kim, here's
I mean,
the thing.
why not?
Here's the thing I've heard. We have this issue with misinformation. We have taken every step to address it, to deal with it, to have people come in, and they don't seem to do it. And you know what? And I've heard people say, well, we're going to have this. Let's have one that talks about nothing but this. Well, that affects, 3 or 4 people. And you know what? They represent themselves well on the Jones Homes issue. But and we don't have to call it a heritage district or call it anything, but just this is a town hall. Make it a virtual town hall. We sit here and you know what, for an hour and a half, if nobody shows up, then we walk away. But we've added a piece in there that says, because we can address it 3 times a year, we can address any misinformation. And we can address it at but at Coffee to Council. But here's the only issue with Coffee with Council. It's kept within Coffee with Council. So that dialogue is had with one person or two people, three people, and then it's kind of left at that. So maybe we're answering kind of our own question. One is we add an additional open topic town hall where we don't drive the agenda, let the public drive the agenda. And two, maybe we add Coffee with Council topics of discussion that goes out on our weekly, monthly, whatever, that goes out on to everyone.
We definitely can do either of those options. One thing that I know the town of Indian Trail does, part of their communications effort is they do a weekly live stream where they sit down with their mayor and manager and they take questions from the public who's watching the live stream over Facebook. So we can get creative and think of some new ways to really interact with residents in a virtual setting. It's just really it's really your guys' preference.
So the way I envision this is a great idea, Jamie, is we add a special meeting where it's more of instead of it's our agenda like we have here, it's open topics, and we want to target the misinformation, whatever it is. And maybe we do say, hey, we're going to target the misinformation. We have a special meeting where you have all council members here to be able to respond to it. But what we tend to miss in some of these meetings is the dialogue, the back and forth, which is, I think, what you would like to, that's what we're accomplishing in Coffee with Council. It's not with the whole council, it's just with two council members. So the benefit of something like that, and as I'm just thinking out loud, is we address the issue of misinformation. And then we look out in the audience and see if that individual or individuals who decided this is public information, so we are able to talk about it freely and maybe make a note that they aren't here to represent, what they're saying on the screen, and address it or give them that opportunity to do that, which I think is great, because I think that's in most government meetings, you don't have the back and forth dialogue. We can add it into this, I think, into the existing town hall, or we just call a special meeting where all council members are here. Do it once or twice, 3 times a year, that, it is an open topic type thing,
Well, I'm all for it. I just want y'all's input on it. But I think that we should add in our weekly, or however we send out our information via Facebook and all that, is a Coffee with Council update. This is what happened at a Coffee with Council. Put it out there. We had 2 visitors. We had 0 visitors. The one visitor that did show up, this was the topic that they wanted to discuss.
That's a great idea, Jamie. That's a great idea.
And in that way, it puts the onus back on the public. Again, I want to cover the rabbit hole. I don't want to go down it. And if we put the public on notice, listen, you complain. Not only do we do Coffee with Council twice a month, and 2 regularly scheduled town halls and 1 open topic town hall. This is all the things that we're trying to do to mitigate all misinformation and propaganda that go out there, but to have the update on Coffee with Council. Because if we show that there are only 2 people, the public should know 2 people showed up. 1 person showed up with Coffee with Council.
So the only concern I have with that, Kim, too, is that's great. I like that idea. The problem is it's not an official meeting. It's 2 council members, which Andy may have a different opinion of and he wasn't there, but you and Bob were at the Coffee with Council, and that was the opinion of 2, not necessarily the official view, because we haven't voted on it. But if you just leave it to, this was the discussion that was had, this is what we talked about. But I would refrain, because it would almost sound like it's the official response to the issue that one individual, because it's not necessarily the official response.
No, I would say, 3 residents showed up to talk to Mayor Polino, Councilman Markleese. They discussed the Heritage District. Come out for the next one and leave it at that.
Right. Yeah. That's what it says. Not like when you go into here's what happened. It's like,
no, absolutely not.
Right.
No.
This is just saying, because you want to put the onus back on the public to go, oh, this was talked about.
It's a great idea.
Just a general overview of what the
Influence them to
discussion
come,
was.
influence them to
Right,
come.
well, nobody showed up, I'm gonna go talk to them about whatever, so
Yeah.
it's great.
We actually had a very active coffee with council the other night. We had.
I don't know that I can
You can
tell
say
you,
that in your council comments, when you do that, talk about what happened at the last.
I don't know about y'all, but for me, every coffee with council that I've ever gone through has been a positive outcome. I have never had a negative outcome with coffee with council, that someone comes in wanting to raise hell about something, or want an opinion on something, or wanting a thought on something to clarify something that they didn't leave, going, you know what, I now have a full understanding of what we were talking about. And they go back and go, and we've helped them because now they see propaganda that comes out and they go, I can't believe that.
Jamie, come on. Seriously.
Haven't.
Real. I've been in a meeting where the person that left and still had no idea what was happening.
Well, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them.
Agreed. But that doesn't mean they understood it.
Well, you can lead a horse to water, and
Went on
sometimes you want to
Nextdoor
drown them.
and said, well, because they went on Nextdoor and said they had no idea what was happening.
Well, I think
Just
at
saying.
the very least, it's something to entertain if we call instead of, in addition to the town hall meetings, but the update you're saying is put that in on the social media, what happened, when it happened, but then also for this council to consider an actual special meeting where it's like coffee with council on steroids, where we're all here, a special meeting is called, and we can talk about it.
Yeah, you can call it maybe like an evening council.
Let's do that under open topics and let's pick a date today.
That's fine.
We can do that as far as the.
Unknown caller.
As far as add the briefing to the coffee with council post, you guys, whenever you do a coffee with council, just brief me afterwards. I'll take down some quick notes and we can add that to the social post.
But it should be number of attendees,
Mhm.
coffee with council on this date, number of attendees is X, topics discussed.
Which council members were there,
Which council members were there,
number of attendees, and
topics
discussion.
discussed.
That's it. Those three
Okay.
things.
The only thing is these posts go out pretty quick after the coffee with councils, just because the next one usually follows it up pretty quick. So just, as soon as you're done, just come grab me and I'll quickly take down the notes for you so we can get that out.
Okay. All right, can we move on? Or keeping the date, right?
Yeah.
All right, next up, a review of council minutes from 7/8/22, joint with PRG board, 7/28/22 work session, and 8/9/22 regular. I think we're holding off on some verbatim comments.
So yeah, this is just the initial review. Kim is gonna get me Mayor Pro Tem Vandenberg is gonna get me a verbatim statement that she wanted in the minutes, but I'm asking for y'all to review the rest of the minutes today, and then you'll see these on the next agenda.
And I've read the minutes. I'm okay
fine.
with everything. If councils will just need a motion for that, barring,
You don't need a motion.
Oh, you don't? okay,
Okay.
so we'll just put them in consent.
Yep.
All right, everyone, any questions from anyone?
No.
Thank God you're gonna do verbatim, Kim, because I already forgot what you said.
Really? It was really good
I'm
too.
just kidding.
It was really good.
I know, I'm kidding. I'm just giving you what
A
I
hard
should
time.
give you.
Give me a hard
Let's see.
time. I appreciate
This
it.
is discussion of 2023 Marvin Day celebration. Who's got this?
That would be me.
Okay.
So I recently sent you all a text, kind of just letting you know that the concern of the school is the dates that we've selected for the first week in May as a continual date impacts potentially graduations, inclement weather graduations, and potential sports playoffs. So they're not confident in giving us a definite yes on that date every year, not even next year. So they encouraged us to look at July because it doesn't conflict with any type of school activities. I'd mentioned that to you all to consider and just kind of dwell over in your minds to see if you wanted to talk about potentially changing locations to the park and just changing up the dynamic a little bit in terms of whatever that means to make it fit the space that we have. We've identified a space that we could potentially shoot off the fireworks from at the park location safely. We've also identified an area that we could potentially allow overflow parking. We would have to run shuttle service from different locations. So there's a lot of logistics that would have to be worked out if we changed it to the park, but that's an option. Otherwise, it looks like the only other option we have is to look at July at the high school. Unless there's other suggestions that we haven't thought of.
So the only thing offhand I can think of is July certainly affects, like we continue to want to do a car show because that's usually in the spring or in the fall timeframe. And it's better because it's the heat aspect that's involved with that. So
And there's also the potential to do the car show at the elementary school as well. Did you have a comment that you want to?
I was just gonna say, in that communication, did you say that we would be looking at no parking at the park?
I did not, no.
So that, one of the ideas that came out of that initial information was we would shut the park down from parking other than just vendors. And it would just be 26 acres of walkable festival space, which I really liked that idea and thinking about that many people being in the park from a safety standpoint and not having to, park that many cars.
can the well and septic handle that?
Porta pots.
I would think so.
Hey,
Yeah. I don't know because it's a big volume of people,
Yeah,
but
we'd probably bring in some porta potties just to stage them in different areas where different activities are going on.
And we can figure out all those logistics within the subcommittee. Our main question right now is, are you guys interested in July at the high school? Are you interested in us entertaining other options, i.e. the park, and let us figure out those?
why didn't we go earlier? Why are we pushing out later? Why don't we try earlier dates that don't conflict with those activities?
Because they have no idea what conflicts. And if you go earlier, which is what we were talking about doing, you're running into, let's just go May, you're running into 2 weekends of graduation. You've got Firethorns member guests. You've got Memorial Day. So now you're in June, which is what we did. We picked June 1st. They don't want to do it in June. They told Christina late June or July. So even if you go it forward and you go into April, spring break is always all over the place. It could be in March, it could be in April, and it just is all over the place. So if we want to have the same consistent weekend, it's not, I don't think we can go any further into the year, like past May. And really, May doesn't work anyway. So we're basically stuck with the first weekend in June.
when did they say they could commit to us?
July.
No. When did they say, what, we have a date, we prefer this date? What I'm hearing is they're telling you they can't commit to that. When can
Period.
they commit to that?
July.
You mean when could they tell us if we
When
can have
can they
July?
tell us if the date that we have on the book?
They can't, because he said that the
So-
graduation schedule, they won't be able to tell you that until closer to date because of potential playoffs. He did say, I asked that same question because graduation seemed to be the biggest thing. And he said that graduation schedule is set in January-ish, but he won't know about potential playoffs until closer to the date.
So what about July 1st?
He said anytime in July.
See, I think, first off, I rather than move, I think it went so well this past Marvin Day that you start to train everybody that like the big event is at the stadium. And, the car show is perfectly done at the high school. I don't think it's a big deal, July 1st. I mean, it's right there at Independence Week, because, July 4th is right in the middle of the week, so it's
always go on vacation.
But July 4th is.
Yeah, I
typically the
mean,
hottest weekend of the year.
July's hotter than Blue Blazes. People
Here-
are out of town. I'm not gonna not plan vacations because of Marvin Day, and it's not always in the middle of the week.
Let me take a stab at this. I like your idea, July 1st. First Saturday in July, unless it conflicts with July 4th. That's number one. I just checked to confirm. I looked on my business card. Guess when we established? July 1994. So isn't that make sense that we would celebrate the Marvin Day in July? So because we did We were established in July, so of 94. So I just make a proposal, first weekend in July. Sounds like the school can deal with it unless it conflicts, and we will know that well in advance. The following year, 2024, we're looking at July 6th. So that would technically conflict with the July 4th, because I'm assuming, I don't know how many people have off, but you know, we can talk about that when we get to.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. If everybody was gonna make some sort of an escape, they would do it the weekend connecting to
Yeah.
July 4th. So nobody's gonna do anything up to that point,
Right.
and everybody's gonna be in town July.
So where it gets tricky is the next 2 years, because 2024, we're looking at July 6th is a Saturday, assuming we're gonna have this on a Saturday, and then the following year is July 4th is on a Friday, so that would obviously conflict with people's July 4th plans. And then, you know, yeah, July 4th is Saturday, so it's the next 3 years, it does affect the first Saturday. You know, as far as July
So,
4th.
so people who go away for the week of July 4th, me, staff, other people, just we're good with them not being there. I'm fine with that. I'm fine not being there. I'm just asking that question because a lot of people go away for the July 4th holiday for a week.
Is there a specific reason why we're doing it in the spring and not in the fall?
Well, I think the school has issues.
Yeah.
Because of, that's the, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I was just asking.
Most games are on Friday.
I understand, but
There's some events going on, usually soccer or whatever. Can do anything.
They're booked out completely.
I personally don't like being at the mercy of the school because we cannot just pick a date and stick with it. I like doing it within like village owned property.
Unfortunately, I'm agreeing with you, Kim, but unfortunately, they have the best facility in the area. So, I mean, we don't have a stadium. We don't have like large, other than the park, it's the only large piece of property we have.
Why can't we use the park?
I mean, the park is great, but there's a lot of confinements to using the park.
There's two things that we did at the high school: the car show and the concert. The car show we can easily do at Marvin Elementary after the race. There's plenty of time to swap everything over, and you can have the concert and the fireworks at the park.
So one thing I'll just mention to you too, one of the biggest things that you all had discussed in May when you were talking about making sure, you know, we didn't conflict with graduations, the member guests. So keep that in mind if you're talking about any time in July, because there's various, like Councilmember Vandenberg had mentioned, various vacations, various other events that are going on, fires going. I don't know when they usually do their fireworks show. So keep that in mind at the core of this decision as well. If we did something at the park, we would kind of tone down the event. One of the benefits that we discussed at a staff level is it would attract more Marvin residents and their guests in a nature that it would be more intimate setting and not inviting, you know, people from Waxhaw and surrounding counties that aren't taxpayers. So we felt like it would be a more intimate setting for Marvin residents. Not trying to persuade you either way. I'm just letting you know from that standpoint that it would be a benefit, particularly for Marvin. We would do it more like a bring your own chair, lawn chair, have it out where people are, you know, the stage is set up somewhere in the green space. People bring the lawn chairs and.
So that being said, my biggest concern from a park standpoint is logistically the busing and stuff. So would the school at least be open to allow us to park vehicles there where the buses can do the drop off and pick up? If we had some sort of bus system that can get someone, you park at the high school, it's a lot of parking. Bus drops off there and picks up there and takes you to the park.
So we would work out various shuttle points. That's what we've discussed at a staff level. We could even look at, you know, parking here, parking at the elementary
There's
school.
no parking here.
Well, I'm just saying in general, we would try to plan some stuff here as well. Like some of the
Publix?
artists, Publix. So we can get the logistics set up for the shuttles. I did not ask them that question.
Yeah, Publix
I don't
is
think they
actually
would be opposed
closest
to
the
it.
high school to the park. So that might be a better.
It's
I mean,
We've also identified-
you can ask Publix, but you could also park in that field right beside
Yeah.
the fire station that they have overflow parking for voting.
So we had planned to talk to that individual that owns that property. I think Derek knows him or has a relationship with him in some way. We can work those logistics out if y'all want to do it at the park.
Yeah, it's typically dry that time of year, so that grass parking shouldn't be too much of an issue.
Well, either way, it's, that is my biggest concern about, you lose the ability for more. I don't have a problem with people outside of Marvin coming in to celebrate that, but it's,
Yeah.
and I think we can have an option for the car show, which would be separate, figure out that. But it's just the logistics of having that many people. And I wouldn't want multiple locations. I would want one location.
Okay.
It's either Publix, boom, or it's things so we have one system and it is what it is. I prefer the high school. I think it's closer and
And-
easier to get in and out of
Yeah.
from a bus standpoint.
And we don't have to make
rather than-
decisions about that today in terms of the shuttle. We really want to know if y'all are interested in keeping it at the high school and keeping it into the July timeframe or moving it all together to the elementary school and let us work out the logistics of what that means.
I'm interested in keeping it at the high school like we just did it. Let's not make this more complicated than it needs to be, and it's July 1st. And I like what Mayor Polino said, I didn't realize Marvin was founded in July, so I don't know what the big complication is for July 1st.
And I would be remiss if I didn't offer Derek an opportunity to speak on anything if he has any comments either way on the park or.
I mean, I love the idea of the park. I think logistically, it's, what staff has to do, having everything contained in one spot without cars coming in is much easier to manage than multiple sites and not being on our property. The school is a little bit further, but it's also, we're not traversing over Providence Road and a stoplight. So there's that from a shuttle standpoint, just to consider. But to me, I think about like the Strawberry Festival in Fort Mill, Walter Elisha Park. It's just a big park. It's just open space. And I mean, they got concerts and inflatables and vendors and wrestling, and car show and everything right there in the park. And so I think we can do something similar to
You
that.
think we can
and
do a
still-
fireworks show out of there?
Yeah, down by the water. Shoot it over the pond and have it visible from miles away.
What's the impact on Walden Pond neighborhood?
Be loud from 9 to 9:30.
I don't care. They're not in Marvin.
We've had.
I mean, it's not gonna
we've had
be,
Some concerns with that in the past though, with the,
well, but think about the proximity of that pond.
Tell them
to
to
the high
come
school.
on into Marvin and we'll talk about it. Otherwise, I don't want to hear it.
I mean, Jill heard those fireworks in Waxhaw, so,
I heard those fireworks at my house.
yeah. So, I mean,
I personally, my vote is to do it, to keep it at the beginning of June, that first Saturday in June, because I think it's going to be hotter than Blue Blazes. And I think you're going to have a boatload of people out of town, including staff members who want to go out of town for the July 4th week. And I'm usually out of town that week, so I'll probably never be at another Marvin Day.
The other option is we just do a one time, let's take a look and stab at the park and see how logistically what we learn from it, or is it like, no, this isn't gonna work? And we go back to beholden to the school because that was the best location from a band standpoint, fireworks standpoint, and it just ends up moving to July.
so if we do the park, when do we want to do the park? I mean, we're open because we can do it anytime. What do we have a target date for doing it at the park for this experiment?
I think it's still June 1st because we're still running into the May issues. College graduation, member guests, Memorial Day, and then it's June.
So June
It's the
3rd.
first Saturday in June.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm fine with that. I think it gets us a little bit cooler. July 4th weekend is typically the hottest weekend of the year. Like blazing hot. And last thing people want to be is outside when it's 100 degrees outside. So,
All right, so June 3rd, do we want to make someone want to recommend June, first week in June at this point and move it to the park? And see how we do and then reassess and see how everything went. If everything fell into place and we have to work on shuttle systems and all that other stuff.
Are we asking for a permanent?
No.
Are we asking for just,
I think
The-
location is
just
the bigger
looking
issue.
into it?
I think we'd like to have it June 1st and then it's gonna be, that may have to change if this location is not gonna be.
You mean for next year?
I'm
Yeah.
just saying for next year, are we asking like definite or are we
Yes.
just asking for to
Definite next year.
explore that option?
No, we're asking for a definite for next year.
Yeah, and then, it may flop, people are like, I'm not gonna deal with shuttles and stuff like that.
But Derek, how hard a walk is it from the open field next to the fire department to Eford Park? Is that a doable walk?
5 minutes, if that.
But is it
Used to-
so in other words, they're
It's-
having,
It's doable because you're going from, you have to get from the lot to the fire station anyway, right? So then you're basically walking through the fire station
Right.
and then from the fire station over, it's a 2-minute walk maybe?
very
Yeah.
doable as long as we have law enforcement there to kind of help with getting
Well,
them down the
Yeah,
road.
you
we
put
can
cones up
we
and,
can put cones and ribbon.
Yeah.
After listening to everything, I do agree with Kim, is that every year we're gonna always be beholden to the high school. And my thought would be if we can do that, now we have to find does that still mean, that still means we can still have the car show at Marvin Ridge. We're just not utilizing the football field. So nothing changes except really the concert and fireworks, which we can do at Eford Park.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, the car show is really run and pushed by the Marvin Ridge Band.
Right.
That coordinate with the school. And then all we're doing is promoting it and we're suggesting that they do it on the same day as Marvin Day,
So,
which they may not want to do.
so the recommendation
That's a good idea.
of keeping it the first Saturday of June, we can live with and never have to ask the school for anything. And as long as we can give them advance notice on the parking and agree to parking, and it's free parking in that field, the only thing that's impacted by it, changing it to instead of the concert, it's just the concert. Because everything else remains the same.
yeah, but Christina, correct me if I'm wrong, they won't even give us permission to use the parking lot at the high school, correct?
I did not ask him that question, so I don't know.
Okay.
And Kim, here's the other thing. We got to use the track last year because the track was going to be torn up. So I can assure you that next year, even if we agreed to the date, even if they said, sure, you can do the first Saturday, they're not going to let us put a stage and drive trucks to that stage on their new track. So that's the kind of information that's
Okay.
that's real to this conversation. So I would, if it were me and I were gonna put my flag in the sand on something, I would say you stay the first Saturday of June and we make the accommodations to do it at the park. And I think the park can do it and people will get to see the park.
So are we suggesting, just to be clear, the field that's just beyond the fire department is where people would park?
It's a 5-minute walk.
I know, but people would park there?
They would park
Just go
there.
there. Who owns that?
Yeah, who owns the field?
I think it's owned or managed by one of the volunteer firefighters who lives across the street from the fire department there.
All right, so we need to reach out to them, but that's a great location, walkability.
I was gonna say, if we could cut, if EBO, we could cut it and make it parkable,
They did that in Seabrook for PGA.
Yeah, they use it every year, but they just, every time they
But
have.
they use
a
it for
major
overflow
elections,
for
it's-
voting.
voting parking. There's a gate there that he opens up. They use it all the time for voting parking when they have major elections. So every major election, they use it for that.
Okay.
So it's
Alright.
not like it's never been
Alright.
used for that kind of thing.
So is there a consensus to say June 3rd,
Right.
Beneford Park,
First weekend in June, or we just.
First
gonna get
Saturday
through
of June.
this?
or Saturday in June?
First Saturday in June, going forward, and we'll reassess after how this park thing goes and how we put everything together.
Well,
We could always do the car show at Marvin Elementary if we want.
Yeah, Marvin Elementary is
An
not big enough.
asphalt, place, because that'll be open. They got a big parking lot.
I'm not concerned with that because I really think the high school, it's from like 11 to 2 and it's all up at the front and
One way or
it's
the
gonna
other,
be
we can do a
down.
car show on.
I'll just have them coordinate when
We
they do
want-
their show because I don't think they've decided it yet. And they usually like it in the fall. It's better weather at that time, but I think knowing that we're gonna get behind it, I would see no problem in doing it first week in June and being able to do it at the high school.
So
And then
we,
just let them deal with it, not us.
yeah, so we can discuss all that at the committee level too.
Yep.
So
Okay,
do you have any other? You good?
all right. Anything else? Thank you. Moving forward, open topics. I got one. You got one? You go first.
So, I just wanted to say that we had a really successful coffee with council the other night. We had actually 4 people show up. So I'm getting encouraged by I'm encouraged by the influx in people starting to actually utilize this platform, which, for quite a while, we weren't sure if we were going to get anybody. So I was very encouraged by the turnout. And I also want to just give credit.
Yes.
The Roses actually put out a post on Nextdoor promoting Coffee with Council, which was a very positive post. And I was happy to see that our public is actually getting behind it and trying to use this platform. We had a young man, a college-age young man, come in and ask questions, which I thought was very encouraging that we actually have some younger generation people being interested in their community and what's going on around the community. So I was very, very happy about that.
Is this a coffee with council debrief or are we on open topics?
I just wanted to bring up that I was encouraged about the influx and more people coming out. So
Okay, well,
we
we
don't
have
an
that on the
official
agenda.
debrief. Well, we didn't
Oh,
have
okay.
an official debrief on the agenda do we do?
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry, I missed that. I didn't know.
All right, so he jumped the gun there.
Okay.
No worries. Anyone else on open topics?
I do.
Okay.
First off, and I'm not casting shade on anyone but myself. Kim, to your point, the interviews, we do need to take it seriously because we can't complain about what people shed information and the people that sign up for these boards. We don't know who they are. We don't know their agenda. We don't know what they stand for. So it is vital that we do take the time, and that's on me. I did not take the time to interview those candidates, and I had several times to think about it and to do it, but I didn't do it, and so shame on me. It is important that we do that, and I didn't do it. So that's a dereliction of my duty here. The next one is on a better note, is that for those who have not recognized or seen the lights outside in the parking lot, Joe and Andy did a unbelievable job of making that look very good. And Derek, I think I got pictures of Derek working the machinery. And I was just middle management supervising. and didn't get,
I liked your
Did-
shoes.
didn't get, well,
Kim
I-
supervised.
my shoes, I had white shoes that were clear white until Derek pulled the tube up and I got muddy water on my way.
No, man.
But, great job to all y'all for doing that. It's just, it just is a sign of when people go, what do y'all do? You sit around the thing and you do have 2 meetings a month and that's it. But there's a lot more that we do. And everyone is always going above and beyond the description of what a council member should be doing. Certainly, I never saw in there in the job description or the description of that going, hanging pictures, decorating. Decorating was not on there. Putting in light and installing electrical and doing all of these things was not on that description. So when people say, y'all only do this, boy, they're far from it. They've missed the boat on that one. But, thanks to everyone for all the hard work in putting this stuff together. So that's my.
Okay. The only thing I have for open topics is, I'd like to do a little shout out to Jill. So you don't know why, do you? Jill actually put me in touch with a person named Yorda, who's in charge of the Rotary Club. And the Rotary Club had invited me to go and kind of basically be a part of their group. And we were just kind of feeling it out. She asked me to invite. Kim was kind enough to go with me. So what was nice about it is the Rotary Club here in the local one, Waxhaw is a part of it. Weddington is a part of it. Wesley Chapel is a part of it. In fact, the mayor of Wesley Chapel was the guest speaker and presented facts about the town of Wesley Chapel. So it gave a great opportunity. So a lot of local elected officials are a part of this. And instead of saying, yeah, we're in, all I committed to Yorda was to have possibly her come in and present it to council to see if we want to be a part of the Rotary Club. There's the fees that are involved with it, but it is an opportunity to hear from them. I don't want to sell it for them. I just figured if you guys are open to it for the next work session, possibly we can arrange for Yorda to come. But thank you, Jill, for putting me in touch with her. It was a great breakfast meeting. I encourage you. In fact, one was this morning. Unfortunately, I had to miss it because of today's meeting, even though I could probably have done it. It just, I had too many other things to do first thing this morning. So that said, is if you guys are okay with it, I'd like to invite Yorda to our next work session. Okay. All right. And that's all I had for open topics. And if there's no one else, we'll move forward to communication.
No, we need to pick our new meeting date that we're gonna have. We just said we were gonna do it in open topics.
Do what? Oh, the open, special meeting type thing?
Yep.
Okay. Suggestions?
It doesn't have to be a special meeting. We can actually put it on your schedule if you'd like that.
Put it on the
The meeting schedule.
town hall schedule?
We can amend your meeting schedule to add that to the list of meetings.
You
So our
wanna do
fall,
it in October?
I'm confused. I thought we were calling like some sort of coffee with
It
council.
doesn't have to
with
be a
everyone
special
that-
meeting because it's not gonna be within 48 hours. What Austin's saying is we can just add an additional meeting to our meeting schedule and adopt a new meeting schedule.
I got you. Okay, so we already have fall scheduled in October.
October 5th.
Usually people are home, a lot of,
when is our spring? When did we do our spring one?
You guys
We
normally
didn't have
do.
one last year because of Marvin Day.
how about right after our powwow, that we go to in January? Is that a budget only or is that a retreat?
Budget retreat.
How about right after the retreat?
When is the retreat?
Let me pull it up real quick.
I personally think that's waiting too long.
19th through the 21st.
Well, we're gonna have the fall town hall.
I'm
meeting,
sorry.
Which gives people an opportunity to have
January.
open dialogue with us. I think staggering them a little bit so that there's
Yes.
too much space in between is a good thing. If we're gonna have 3 of them, let's try to do it every 4 months.
Okay. All right.
So-
I'm sorry, Christina, when is our meeting?
It's the third week in January, the 19th, 20th, and 21st.
So that puts us in that window, right? That in January, then our spring one we do
And do we have a particular night we want to do it on?
Not a Wednesday.
How about the
I'm just
Tuesday?
saying because people complain that it's church night and then it's like, I can't believe it's church night.
So
What about Monday the 23rd?
the
What month?
23rd, Monday
Yeah.
of January?
Yeah.
I just looked, I got no events going on. I'm in. I didn't book out that far.
I'm not booked out that far either, so.
So let's do a tentative for, that's October, November, December, January. That's 3 months after our town hall. Is that, because we can address some of these issues or have an open spot for the town hall, or have some open dialogue back and forth, obviously with questions. And then 3 months later, we have a specific meeting here where we're,
Have a
And are you
set
guys-
agenda.
So what date are we talking about?
the right after our powwow at
January
the
23rd. It's a Monday.
23rd.
And you guys go with 6:30 PM like we've done with all the other town halls?
Yeah.
So you guys will see this on your 2023 meeting schedule. I should have that to you in October.
Perfect. Everyone okay with that? Speak now.
Yep.
Okay.
Hang on, I'm not seeing Martin Luther King Day. I don't think that's,
It's the week before.
Okay.
It's the 16th.
Yeah, it is. Good call, though. Good catch. Be a good day to have it, though. Free at last, free at last. You're free to come talk to us at last. All right, but that's a government holiday, though, so you guys are off. Anything else? We're good? 23rd, because you're going to be tied up the 19th and 20th on the retreat. And then. Okay. I'm good.
By the way,
You'll send that to us, right?
regarding that, is that still going to be at Old North?
it is.
It is.
Okay. Anything else? Mayor Pro Tem. This is kind of nice. I don't have any bruises today.
For next time.
I can't hear you. It's probably a good thing. Next up, where am I at? Monthly communications review.
Okay, really fast. I've got the draft list in there for the next 2 months. We're going to do some filler material, the quotes and stuff to keep you active online in addition to our normal topics. If you guys want to suggest any additional topics, anything you know that we're going to be discussing over the next few months that you want to go ahead and get out there ahead of any next door posts or any misinformation, this would be a good time to let me know.
And I have the PRG board meeting on 9/6. Is it not 9/13?
It is, I apologize, I forgot to change that. So yeah, we moved that to
Making sure.
9:13. Yep.
I mean, talk to you after.
So this would be an area where we could put in like another line that we keep blank that says to be determined, frequently asked questions. And that would be a good opportunity for everyone to go back and look at the agenda that we've just literally gone over in case we're calling any public hearings that they may want to discuss, doing a proactive frequently asked questions. So you might just want to put a little earmark in there so we can.
Yeah, we can add that.
So in the spirit of that, is there anything from this agenda today that we think that we might want to do like an FAQ on?
The Waxaw Marvin roundabout would be a pretty big topic.
I think so too, but unfortunately, I don't think we have enough information to send out one yet. But I would start working on one. Maybe in information?
Yeah, I think we definitely could do a FAQ there when we get some more information back after next month. Once we know where we're going. And the next month, next work session, you guys will see October again and you'll see November. So that's how I'm staggering these now.
And we may not have enough information to do a formal FAQ like we normally do, but we could at least do a one post with as much information as we have, saying that we're going to talk about this at the next date.
We could do a press release and even make it a headline in a newsletter too. So we can figure it out.
Anyone see anything else with just a glance over of the agenda topics of today? We don't always have to do them. It's just, I think it would be an opportunity for us to look at this point in time to make sure we're trying to get more proactive information out.
All good? Okay. That being said, moving on, coffee with council debrief, sort of had one, but anything in particular that you guys should let us know what was discussed?
No, again. Support.
Are you guys talking?
What's that?
I can't hear. Were you guys talking
Okay.
about the debrief?
Yeah, so we were just saying, it was
He didn't have his
the
mic.
roses came in, it was a very positive and engaging conversation. And we had a young man come in that just wanted to know how government worked. He wanted to know how, do we identify or does the public identify issues that are going on? And I said, typically, we're already ahead of it by the time it gets to the public. And but it was a good coffee with council.
Will was here.
Will was here.
Yeah.
But again, it's always been a positive interaction. Sometimes we may not agree on stuff, but it's a positive interaction. And it's just, so we had a good one.
Okay.
A full room. I was impressed.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you. Next
Can-
up, and
can-
thanks for
can-
being here,
Can I
Jim.
just add one?
Yeah.
You brought up a point too about the youth. Is there, I wonder if there's a way that we can do something specifically for the youth. Have high schoolers come in that
Weren't we
these,
working on a youth council?
I know, but I'm just talking about engaging with the youth and just saying like a coffee with council for youth.
Yeah, we could do that.
If you're under 21, come in.
So in the past, I remember going to speak to, whether it's social studies for Lauren, my oldest daughter, the teacher allowed me to come in and talk about local government, how it works. I know kids are always trying to get special credit. Maybe encourage the teacher to have something where on this night, if you go to town hall and we have a group of high school students that if they sign up and they sign off on it, we have discussions of what we're going to talk and then open topics for them too, to encourage not only getting involved with your community, but also maybe government and how it works, those kind of questions. And if it's tied into some sort of extra credit that maybe help them push them over to that next grade level, we may see some more kids. Maybe they don't want to be here, but they're only here because of that to check off a box, but at least it opens it up. And that's something that I can certainly reach out to the teachers who at the high school or talk to the principal and talk about, okay, is there something we could do to encourage? Because we do get inquiries every once in a while. How do I get involved with, and being that they're usually under 18, they can't necessarily be elected, but it's an option to have them figure out what's going on in their town. And who knows, maybe they actually go back and tell their parents what's going on that don't know, so.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but is there a way that we consider something on a regular basis? Maybe it's twice a year that we have something but it's within the school year because it can be promoted. It can be talked about in the schools to have them, pick a Thursday night or a Tuesday night or something that, and they come in and we have a class in here and promote it through the social studies because I'm just trying to, If we could engage with students, I think that would just be.
Why don't you pick one coffee with council in the fall on the Tuesday night and one in the spring and just just re-advertise that one coffee with council as, for the kids, for the youth, for our young adults. and
Kids
just
with
do it that
council.
way.
Kids with council.
There you go.
But then.
I mean,
you
I mean, I
tie
think
that
it's a
into
good
the
idea,
school
and I would just pick one in the fall and one in the spring.
While they're in school.
Whether it's, I agree.
Let's, because, I have, I communicate with some of the people at the school level that I can at least reach out to the principal and say, hey, is there a teacher that you would, maybe direct me to, but this is what we're thinking as far as community wise and stuff. So I think it's a great idea. To that point, we even talked about, and I mentioned, I thought it was Rotary Club, but there's another group that I recognize as, this kid of the month at the elementary schools. Right? You get the kids, you get the little, whoever is the
Yeah.
kid of the month. I think it'd be great if they can get a letter from the Village of Marvin, if they're Marvin residents, either Sandy Ridge or that, and we just do a little acclamation of a signed letter saying from, council saying that congrats on being this, that they can, something that they can issue to, because it's little things like that that just kind of get them involved with government, let them know that we're thankful for their efforts and stuff. So, but all right, anything else? All right, reports and updates, managers report. You got nothing?
I do. I did something this month. So like I mentioned earlier, I'm meeting with NCDOT in discussion of the general obligation bond. This is our initial kind of meeting to them to basically ask the question of, once we do the analysis work on how much the scope of the project's going to cost, we're going to pencil out what the DOT cost would be and see if we can work out some type of arrangement where they would go into an agreement with us to basically pay us back that amount. So that is on August 30th at 9 a.m. If anyone wants to attend, you're more than welcome to do so. And then last thing I wanted to mention was Derek actually attended a HOA meeting a couple of days ago at Marvin Creek, and he had a quick update on the connector trail that I just wanted to let him mention real quick.
Just an update. I'd mentioned this to you guys a couple meetings ago, but I kind of just reached out to the HOA president of Marvin Creek and pitched the idea of possibly building a small connector from their sidewalk that's off the back of Painted Turtle into the preserve internal trail. It's small, it's 800 linear feet. It would require 2 bridges, which which will increase the cost of it on our part, but they're in favor of moving forward with looking at it. They want to see the proposed path and, more visual idea of what it would look like. But it took a little bit of convincing to sell them on the vision, but they're definitely in favor of it. And so much that they want to look at possibly connecting to Tullamore as well, crossing the creek over on that side of their development. So
Yeah, there was.
pretty positive.
They're open to it before they never wanted
had
connectors.
I think the residents built or something across that little connector stream.
Yeah.
They
Probably
use the trail
something
down
more
there.
formal and safer.
Yeah, I mean, they actually have a connector on their trail system to that little bridge.
Mhm.
We've looked at it in the past, but, yeah, that's good. Good news.
And then the last thing I want to mention was that we do have some RFPs out. The master plan for the parks in general, the park facility space should be coming back September 6th, I believe is that date. And then we're getting ready to release the auditor RFP as well. So you'll see some activity on that in the next couple of months. That's all I have.
Thank you. All right, anyone, I guess we're moving on to planners report. Hunter?
Yeah, so just a few things. Oldie Park update. Reached out to the now property manager 2 or 3 times requesting a meeting, haven't gotten back to me. So if anybody knows any residents in that neighborhood, example Wayne, definitely trying to find another angle because I don't necessarily know why the now property manager hasn't responded, but I'm still working on that the best I can.
For where is this?
The towns at Audrey. Once Pulte turned it over and said they wanted the HOA to be the ones that decided on if they were going to donate the land, they turned it over. I've requested three or 4 times now to be put on their HOA board meeting agenda. And I just haven't gotten a single response. So don't know what's going on. But, so whatever, like I said, whatever approach I can take is, I mean, I know that there might be some connections with some residents in there. And if we just know when their HOA board meeting is and just maybe make a request, try getting on that way. So continue working on that, and hopefully, like I said, I'll have some type of lead by the September meeting for that.
You said it so fast I didn't hear. Where is this at again?
The towns at Audrey. It's for that, the Pulte Park land donation.
Okay.
Heritage update. So now that it was, the rezoning was approved, the developer is working with Union County on their sewer submittal. We had a meeting Tuesday. Christina and I met with the county on some of the county's kind of just questions, concerns, and then I've got another meeting today with now Jones Homes in the county on that to hopefully get all on the same page and get a better understanding. But most likely they would be submitting their sewer plans within the next month or two. It's all kind of depending on the county getting their ordinance adopted as well. So I'll keep you guys updated on that process. But once that kind of gets started, they will also then be submitting their construction documents and preliminary site plan for us, and that will go through that process. I also have the development agreement signed from Jones Homes. I need Joe and Jamie Bays' signatures today, and then I'll go take that to get recorded with the county as well. Finally, it's kind of a Win More bond update, but as well as kind of give you guys a heads up. I know I've mentioned this to a few of you guys. So one, we've been closing out Win More's bond. The developer then came back and said that he wanted to pay the bond because he's personally guaranteed it. We gave him until September 15th. We left the bond claim still open. Pretty much my goal is if we don't have that money by September 15th, that the bond claim agency, they have all the evidence and information needed, and they can then process the claim like the day after. With that being said, we should be able to get those funds and then make those necessary improvements. The wrench into this is that Win More's 12 homes, all 12 homeowners want a gate. Well, we don't allow, when the roads are platted as public, they are not in our road system or DOT's, it's just within the developer. So I've had some conversation with Chapin on this, and basically they could not petition over the roads and have it all replatted as private on their end, since it was never in our system. We would additionally have to do a text amendment to allow gates over private roads because we don't allow that right now. The only place we allow gates is either on private property or through the rural subdivision. So they will, one representative from their neighborhood will probably come and speak during public comment at the September meeting to you guys, just basically, and this was kind of one of my recommendations, is that they come and just express how they're pursuing a text amendment. I know it was kind of discussed by you guys before, but they do have all 12 homeowners on board on wanting to not petition over the roads, make them platted, and put up a gate. So just wanted to give you guys that heads up. If you want to talk to me about it, ask any questions, just feel free to, give me a call, shoot me a text, however you want to do it. Just wanted to give you that information because that's going to be something coming down the pipeline in the next 2 or 3 months. And it all, like I said, that it's all intertwined with the bond and then trying to do this at the same time. So
they don't want trash service and they don't want to take over the roads and they want a gate. Is that what you're saying?
Well,
they'd have to be able to get, they'd have to get in there to maintain.
And that's I've mentioned to Christine, and I don't know. I mean, I guess we would still be providing them trash service, but I don't. I know we have like Sedgefield and the little section of PD. I don't know how it's done there. I guess the driver would just have the gate code. They are aware of, obviously, if they take over the roads, they're the ones responsible about it. I kind of had this conversation with Kim last week, is that if we're going to kind of open up this process per se, to make sure we have regulations in place where it doesn't put more time on staff. Like basically, if a neighborhood wants to try to do this, like obviously they got to do all the legal upfront stuff. They would, if it's within the village's system, they would have to petition to take their roads over. And one of those stipulations is that, one, we probably wouldn't release those roads if we just did some type of improvements within the last couple of years, because that's just a waste of our, PAL bill funds, as well as if they come back to us to take them back over, then they'll have to meet all the requirements for us to do that. So it's making sure they know what the risk is if they do that. So, but Winmore's in a unique spot because it's not in our system. It's not in DOT's. It's a platted public right of way, which you can't gate legally anyway. It's just, so they don't necessarily have to be released from any type of jurisdiction per se on road maintenance.
Why didn't we end up with those streets?
Winmore, because our ordinance reads that all subdivisions, pretty much, when Winmore was approved, that all roads have to be platted as public and then be dedicated to the village, because it was a newer one.
That's what I'm saying. So why aren't we maintaining those?
Because it's not finished. The developer hasn't put the last, it's been an ongoing thing for like 3 years. And when I started this process of getting the information. I know Rohit was kind of on it, and we didn't really have, I think, the documentation evidence needed against the developer, giving him opportunity / communication. So we started that. Basically, then the developer back in September of last year agreed to try to make the necessary improvements, and we gave him till the 1st of January of this year. Didn't make those improvements. We pretty much kind of gave him till March, because it really, if he made the improvements and put the final layer, he couldn't do that till March anyway. And so when none of that was done, we reached out to him, no communication. So we started the planning process in May. So they're platted as public. They're supposed to be dedicated to the village and accepted by the village if all the improvements are made. However, since the improvements haven't been made, it's just still within the developer / HOA's responsibility right now.
Hunter, you said there are 12 homes in there now?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it, before they can petition, they have to have 100% of all homes to agree to?
That's the
Because I'm
one.
gonna find it hard, and the only reason I'm saying that, I'm gonna find it hard to believe that you can get 12 people to agree that today is Thursday.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what, basically, yeah, I mean, all the homeowners are gonna basically have to agree to take over the roads. And it also depends on how their bylaws reads. Like, it's a little different if they were coming to us or DOT, since it's in this little, gray area, that if their bylaws state maybe, 4/5 or some type of super majority in theory, but, then it comes down to having that private right of way. Basically, the way those deeds would be rewritten is that you would have the right of way up and you would be responsible. I mean, either the HOA would be responsible or the property owner responsible for their portion of the road to the center line. I mean, there's different ways, but ultimately, yes, like that's what I told him. I said, I advised them they need to speak with an attorney on the process to have it replatted from a public right of way to private, as well as, I mean, having all those deeds updated to read ingress, egress, or, access in, on those streets for the properties within. Yeah. So they're aware, and that's kind of how this like, I'm not going to spend staff time, and it's on them to get that information and make sure they do it right legally before we would sign anything.
That was my point.
So in short, they want to go to a private, there's still work to be done at their level and our level if that's going to happen.
I don't know.
We haven't addressed that yet because we haven't changed our gate policy.
We would have to change our ordinance.
Correct. That's what
they're trying to do. They're trying to come before us to do a text amendment for us to allow gates on private roads. There are multiple facets of this situation. Like, we haven't seen the text amendment yet. It's got to go to planning board. This is going to be a long process.
I agree, but Kim, my point to all of this, I don't think we do, planning board, no one, council, staff do anything until they can bring us, when they can bring us that 12 people agree upon one thing, God bless them. I've been down that path and I'm telling you, you're not gonna do it. And if they do, that's great, but no, we don't turn a finger until that happens.
Hunter told me that everybody in the neighborhood was on board with it.
That's what they've conveyed to me. I had a meeting with their HOA last week.
But this is not, this is just say, hey, guys, this is information. Just, we don't have anything else. We don't need to sit here and discuss it because we don't have any more information. I think Hunter was merely saying this is coming down the pipeline for us just to be aware of it.
Yeah, if any of you guys want to discuss, like I said, I want to know your guys' input because to an extent, they have a right to petition for a text amendment to allow gates and would have to go through that process. But I can also advise them being like, hey, then that's part of the reason I wanted them to come to council and speak during public comment is I know you guys can't but being able to kind of give them a little bit of feedback, because if it's not going to maybe be considered for approval, then nobody wastes their time looking at it. So, but like I said, reach out to me if you have any questions on that, and I'll definitely keep you guys updated as it moves through.
So, anything else?
Those are the only three things I had,
Okay.
unless you guys.
No, I just was curious. What's the name of it? Just started breaking ground.
Broadmoor.
Broadmoor. That's a perfect example. Without the trees and the 25 setback, what we could see, it's just a great local example of what we could potentially see if we didn't have form-based code.
Yep.
Is that correct? Well, I mean, that's what someone could come in and do.
Yeah. I mean,
Basically all wide open, cut out all the trees, put in at most and have their 25-foot setbacks. We're trying to create just a kind of a memory for people who are all upset about what we're trying to do. And that the end game and what the goal is the 50,000 foot level.
Yeah.
What we're trying to.
So, yeah, and real quick, so like Broadmoor is under construction, Estates at Marvin Branch is under construction currently. The cottages at Marvin Gardens will probably be built out by the end of the year. And same thing with Belgrove. Belgrove has pulled, I think there were 2 remaining lots in there, that 8 and 7. 8 has an active permit on it. I haven't received one from 7, but those 2 should be, you guys should see petitions for those roads, probably between November and May, depending on, once again, timing to get the improvements done on what's needed. I know Belgrove has a lot, so they'll probably be the latter one, but the cottages could be as soon as November.
Cool. Very good. Thank you, Hunter. Any other questions? Next up, agenda items, review action items.
I'm sorry, Kim, I didn't have my microphone on. Just to reiterate, I'll meet with Jessica on the next door stuff and we'll get back to y'all at the next work session. Hunter, Christina, and Joe may have a meeting with Mayor Pappas and Waxhaw about the roundabout. Hunter will bring back that discussion.
Jamie.
Oh, one of you guys.
Okay.
Hunter will bring back the roundabout discussion at the September regular meeting. I'll bring back the other planning board vacancy at the September work session. We're going to add a briefing to the Coffee with Council post, the number of attendees, the topics, and the members present. Hunter's going to put the interlocal agreement for the 25,000 in transportation funds on the consent agenda. I have actually just sent you all the presentation from this morning. And I will send you a calendar invite for this open forum town hall on Monday, January 23rd, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. But you guys will see this in your 2023 meeting schedule, which you'll get in October.
Any questions? Additions? Moving on, review of ongoing action items.
I'm ready.
I don't have anything.
What? You sick? I do not have any either. Anyone else? All right. Moving on to council comments. Wayne, you want to go first? We haven't heard from you much.
I will pass, Joe. Got a little bit of pain today.
Yeah, I get it. I hope you're feeling okay and recovering well. So we're in our prayers and thoughts. So
Thank you.
glad you could make it today. Kim?
I'm gonna pass. I'm in pain too. Pain in the butt. I'm good. No, hey, seriously though, Joe, Andy, the lights look awesome. Derek, you and your guys did a great job.
Hey.
Look at your mic when you
Yeah,
speak.
you gotta look at your
Hear
mic.
you.
You just lost your voice there.
Me?
Yeah.
Stop looking out the window.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can.
Oh, no, I was just saying, you guys did a great job. Everything looks great. Like Derek, his team, you guys, like the lights look awesome. Like it looks really, really good. So thank you for that. And staff, thank you for all your hard work. And we're gonna miss Mason, but we're getting Deputy Swan back. So it'll be a familiar face. And Wayne, I hope you continue to recover. And yeah,
Thank you.
that's it. That's all I got.
Thank you. Andy? Fine, good. Jake?
Two things real quick. Law enforcement, great job. They're doing all the stuff to slow this traffic down. I just talked to Tommy this morning and he said it's like whack-a-mole. They fix one street and they finally get it calmed down and they move to another one. But great job for them. They're doing all they can to kind of quiet the traffic down. And big thing, it comes on Monday, back to school in Union County. And for all the parents out there that don't have kids going to school or just in general, be safe. I mean, school buses are going to be out but back to school, and congratulations to all those seniors that are going to be, that are seniors this year at Marvin Ridge, and they're going to be, preparing themselves for colleges and doing all their applications and stuff. But it's an exciting time of starting a new school year, and just a shout out to them. But then a shout out to everyone else. Let's just be safe, and even if we're running a little late, be safe around the kids that are going to school.
Safe and patient.
Patient.
Yeah, I'd like to, finishing up, I'd like to thank staff for getting ready. I know Kim and Christina and whoever else did a little bit of shopping for us and getting the decorative stuff, which that stuff I don't do well. So I kind of left that up to them, but whoever helped with putting all that stuff up, it looks great. Your offices are looking great. Really proud of what, again, continue to get really positive comments of what we're doing here and what we did here. And with that, thank staff also with Derek and Andy in mind to getting this place ready. The fact that we're good to go for next week is perfect. And not only Andy for helping and all the effort he put, he's got a lot of knowledge too. That's one of the benefits we have is some of the council members, construction knowledge and stuff. So it's believe it or not, saves the town a lot of money. And we appreciate that. So as always, encourage council to be prepared. To Kim's point and stuff, and I had that on my notes. I just want to just again make that a point for us to be prepared for that. Wayne, I know you're recovering well. Glad you're here. And then still my point, back to school. It's not only going to be traffic and the issues on that corner. Kids, if you're driving for the first time to school, take the safer route. I'm going to encourage my own child to do that. They have longer sight distance because it gets a little crazy, especially the first couple of weeks, and plan accordingly because you are going to be likely late with the traffic patterns that are at the high school. I don't know if they have that all figured out yet, but we'll find out next week. So congrats to all those going back to school. And I know the parents are excited for that as well. So, but with that said, we need to move into closed session. Yes. All right. Motion to move into closed session.
Pursuant to.
Let me get that.
You want to
Closed
refer?
session pursuant to NCGS 143-318.11A135 for a review of closed session minutes, to consult with an attorney employed or retained by the public body in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege, to instruct public body staff concerning the position to be taken by the public body in negotiating the price and other material terms of a contract or proposed contract for the acquisition of real property identified as parcel 06231001A, the parentheses, O. Henry Nesbitt Road, owned by C.H. Nesbitt LLC by purchase auction.
Exchange release.
What?
You're good.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Who made the motion?
I did. I just did.
So moved. I did.
Oh, I made the motion, she so moved it. All right, motion passed. So we're moving into
In the close.
Somebody gonna call me? Somebody gonna call Wayne?
I'll call you.
They can't participate because they're remote. They
Oh,
cannot
can we listen?
You can help.
Can we listen?
It's because hold on one second.
Can't participate, period.
Oh, well then we shouldn't do this now.
We shouldn't go into closed session.
I mean, if all of us can't participate,
Right. So you're saying that, before
so
we
I
go
can't
into
even
closed
listen.
session-
I don't care if I could vote. I can't
You
listen.
know what? Since we already kind of go into closed session, if that's the point and we're not sure about the legality